Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. And guys, I gotta say, for the second straight week, I quite enjoyed Raw. That isn't to say that this was as exceptional as last week. I don't know if anything could have been. But I do feel like, this show succeeded in what should be its main endeavor, and that's get me pumped for SummerSlam. Now, there were some questionable booking decisions that were made, and we'll talk them over here. But on the whole, I really enjoyed tonight's episode. What about you, partner?
Yeah, if last week was a 9 out of 10, this was more of like a 7.5-ish.
I agree. I think that's a fair score.
Yeah.
So, with that said, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Heat of the night. And I do have one nitpick.
And I have a heat of the night.
And you have a heat of the night. So do you want to go first since you have the bigger of the two, or should I go first with my nitpick?
Save the bigger for last, brother.
All right. My nitpick is simply, I don't like that last week the club viciously attacked the New Day. Then we get this tag team match, and the New Day beats them. And not even really after a competitive match, they just caught the club. Now, see, here's my problem with this. You have the club that look really badass in a heelish way. I mean, yeah, they jumped the New Day, but it was an effective beatdown. It was a cool-looking beatdown, whatever. But when you do stuff like this, and you and I have been kind of, not necessarily complaining, but critiquing this model of establishing contenders and feuds for a while now, having the challengers already compete with the champions on TV. And I always feel like when you do this, you kind of book yourself into a corner. Because if the club were to beat the New Day, well, then it kind of raises the question that Brock Lesnar posed when he was the, king of the mountain. Why aren't they the champions then? If you beat me and I'm the champion, why am I still the champion when the show ends? So, that's the one end. But then if you have the New Day win, as they did here, it's like, oh, you're kind of cooling down their heat a little bit. Now, the club did get it back a little bit with the beatdown. I'm just really not a fan of establishing contendership this way. This is why we have depth in divisions. This way you can have contendership other ways. Like if Anderson and Gallows did the same beatdown, say, to Enzo and Cass, and then they're like, oh, you guys have really been tearing through the division. Now you can get a WWE Tag Team title match. I think you can avoid things like this. And again, it wasn't a full-blown heat of the night because nothing made me like, oh, God, I'm so mad. I just got to break something. I'm really not a fan of this style of booking.
What was that about being so mad you could break something?
Yeah, I'm just so mad I could break something, yeah, that didn't make me that mad, but I'm not a fan of this type of booking.
No, but, I mean, you're not that mad, but I was almost that mad during the segment that caused my heat of the night.
Okay, floor's yours.
First of all, I'm sorry to everyone who feels like I sound like a typical internet wrestling fan or hardcore wrestling fan or whatever the hell, but it's one of those things where when something is so obviously money and the WWE just continues not only to just look at the money in the face and say no thanks, but to outright sabotage the potential money.
That just hurts you.
It does. And I'm going to complain about it at big opportunities. I'm going to complain about it at big opportunities like this one because they could have really done something and they chose not to.
What do we got, partner? What's your complaint?
I want to emphasize that I don't care that Kurt Angle wasn't on the show tonight. I don't. I mean, it would have been nice, but who cares? Whatever. You don't need Kurt Angle to have a great show. I'm not even going to complain that Roman Reigns is getting a title shot because that doesn't even bother me that much, although it does send a pretty awful message to the locker room that, you can get caught in the wellness policy violation and still get a title shot afterwards. And also, even if you want to say, oh, well, that's not the world title, so now I guess that the U.S. title is okay for people that break the wellness policy. There's just no way to word that that doesn't sound awful because it is awful at its core, right?
Right.
But that's not even what I have a problem with.
What is your problem?
My problem is the same problem that I had in the moment at WrestleMania 32 when Roman Reigns speared Stephanie McMahon.
I can see where this is going.
You have a golden ticket to make any babyface over more than they've probably ever been. And actually, you've got a few of these little tickets. One of them was Stephanie McMahon getting physically, attacked by one of your workers. And Roman got that. And the other two on the roster right now are The Miz, who can literally get any babyface over in any arena with 5 minutes and a microphone, and Rusev. And they elected to take the single most over heel on their roster, and rather than embracing him as a heel and allowing him to be a heel, they are still insisting on pushing him as a face. And not only that, but they're putting him up against a guy who is one of your very few golden tickets to create a superstar babyface, and it is not going to work for Roman.
Right.
I don't care how xenophobic this country is. They hate Roman more than they love America.
That's quite a statement.
I'm not joking.
Right.
And yet Vince McMahon, in all his freaking knowledge, that was very sarcastic if you couldn't tell. I know sometimes it doesn't translate so well over only audio without facial expressions, but chooses again. You'd think, let's punish Roman. Let's turn him heel. Let's take all that merchandise money away from him. But all they're doing is demoting him to the mid-card as a face?
Yeah.
I'm not joking, John, when I say, when this happened, I had thoughts. I was thinking, why would they do this? What could possibly be the logical choice to them doing this? And the only real thing that I could come up with is they're actually trying to sabotage him. And now, rather than accidentally sabotaging him by trying to push him far so hard that everyone gets sick of him and hates him, they're intentionally trying to sabotage him to punish him for the wellness violation.
Right.
That's all I can think of, is they're trying to sabotage him by just trying so desperately to keep him face, when literally every sign, every person, every former wrestling legend, everybody is saying and is in agreement, Roman Reigns needs to turn heel. And before you go and say, you're just like all those John Cena haters, I don't hate Roman. I freaking love Roman Reigns. I hate the way he's being written right now.
Right.
I want the WWE to give me a reason to enjoy Roman Reigns as a performer. I have liked Roman Reigns as a performer in the past. A, when he was a badass heel with the Shield, and B, when he was a cocky heel in NXT. He was great during both of those runs. WWE saying, no. He's not going to be a heel. He's a face for life, and there's nothing you can do about that, and it's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, look, you and I have been down this road before. We've had this discourse before. You already know that I'm picking up everything you're laying down, and that I agree with you completely. Where I'm tackling this from, and you know this because you and I both live tweeted tonight, had a great time again live tweeting. Love my scum squad. Love you guys. I don't know how to feel as a Rusev fan about this, because I have been saying for the past few weeks, I want to see Rusev move up the card because I feel like he's such a great heel.
John, what you need to understand is that in the WWE's eyes, first of all, this is Rusev moving up in the card because
I would agree there.
Freaking Reigns.
Yeah.
And second of all, this is the biggest compliment they could pay him because they, in their eyes, see this as, Rusev, you're the only guy on the roster that we trust to get Roman cheered. And even then, even as great as Rusev is, it's not going to work.
I know. And that's why I'm scared, because everything you just said, again, I agree with, because that's WWE's logic, and that's how I kind of approach this from. But that doesn't necessarily make it a good thing.
You could have taken the most over heel on your roster. You could have even taken someone that's not a heel or over. You don't have to have some. Get the Big Show. If the Big Show would have come out there, if the Big Show's music would have hit when Rusev was cutting that promo, the crowd would have erupted.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Anybody, literally anybody. You could have taken Sin Cara, and if his theme song, if Curtis Axel, Mr. Irrelevant, if his theme song would have hit while Rusev was cutting that promo, eruption. Crowd goes crazy cheering for anyone that isn't Rusev in that moment. But Roman's music hit, no reaction whatsoever. Lukewarm. No one cares.
Exactly.
And if there is a reaction, it's negative.
And that's precisely the problem. Like, how does this... I understand by WWE's logic how this benefits Rusev. You just delineated that for everybody earlier. What I don't understand is if Rusev's a heel and we want to make him a top heel, which I do want to make him a top heel, I think that's obvious, why would you put him in the ring with somebody that, to your point, gets lukewarm to negative reactions when he interrupts the foreign heel, a concept that's withstood the test of time? And still, in the contemporary era, people can boo Rusev out of buildings for his anti-American rhetoric. And yet when Roman Reigns is chosen as the savior, when he's chosen as the patriot, the only time I've heard, like, boos and lukewarm reactions. Hell, Jack Swagger. Do you remember the night they started their feud and he did We the People and that arena erupted?
Oh, yeah.
And Jack Swagger, that was at a point he hadn't been relevant in a long time. And I say that as somebody that doesn't even really hate Jack Swagger. But Roman Reigns comes out, no solidarity, no unity. It's just, oh my God, Roman. So how am I supposed to feel as a Rusev fan? Because on the one hand, seeing the WWE logic, I'm like, oh man, this is great. They see the value in him that I do. But on the other hand, looking at it objectively and, actually trying to have 2020 vision, I'm thinking, why Roman Reigns? Because I'll be honest, guys. I'll really be honest. That side of me almost says you would have just been better putting the title on Ryder and giving Rusev something else. Because I don't see how this services him as a heel when now he's going to start getting babyface reactions.
Well, John, your mistake there is thinking that the WWE gives a single shit about what this does for him. It doesn't. They don't care. What they care about is this might help Roman get over as a face. They're wrong, but that's their logic.
And I'm telling you, and you know this to be true. I know I'm preaching to the choir. When you have that kind of myopic vision about a talent, like, oh, we've got to do anything and everything to get them over or to get this to happen or to get that to happen, you hurt so many other people in the process. It's not just them. It's like collateral damage.
We are two weeks removed from Roman returning from his suspension, and already we are back to square one with Raw being the Roman Reigns show. Everyone either needs to be talking to Roman or talking about Roman because he's what matters.
And that's so frustrating because, and again, like WWE's logic, you and I get it. Oh, Roman's in the mid-card. So by WWE logic, okay, we're going to push the brakes just a little bit. We're going to have him compete in the mid-card. We're going to try and make it more organic this time. But they still haven't addressed the central problem. And you've addressed it like 5 times now, you and I both in the course of this conversation. He can't. I want to stress he cannot do it as a babyface. And the really sad thing too, dude, is if Roman was a heel and he was going after that mid-card title, I'd be so fucking pumped.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, oh my God, he's going to do the same thing with it that Cena did with the U.S. title, but as a heel with all this swagger. Like,
so, just say, for example, if Zack Ryder had managed to win it from Rusev, if Roman was going after Ryder.
Oh my God. That's fantastic. And look what it does for Ryder. Standing up to a heel like that. But
alternatively, since we're on Raw, say Darren Young won the Intercontinental title from The Miz. Roman going after Darren Young.
Exactly.
With Bob Backlund by his side.
Dude, exactly. Honestly, and we'll get to Darren later. I don't want to touch on that right now. I'll keep course. Like, that's my point. Roman is a heel. Instead of doing collateral damage with your myopic vision of, oh, Roman has to be a babyface, you could do so much good with him as a heel for so many mid-card and upper mid-card babyfaces. It is ridiculous. And I don't know why they don't execute the plan. So, of course, I wholeheartedly co-sign onto your heat of the night. It's just my hand's getting really tired of fixing that signature because this problem should have already been solved. And that's a huge problem.
Just think, John, if Roman had been the one to break up the Shield like I originally suggested, he would have already had his heel run out of the way. He would have already managed to turn on whichever heel he was teaming with at the time, get the fans behind him, and he would already have been a truly beloved babyface character by now. But because they are just so insistent on, no, if we turn him heel, he can never be face, they ruined everything.
Yeah, and what you just said, and then I want us to close this chapter out and we can move on to our formal review. But what you just said, like, that's it, isn't it? It's not even the idea that if you do it this way, you have to compromise your vision, because they didn't have to compromise shit. You could have had your babyface Roman Reigns that you're clearly pining for with all of your hopes and all of your resources.
Well, think about it this way. I mean, here's the thing. I can't necessarily say that it would have been an exact replica, but we already know how easy it was for the WWE Universe to forgive the man that broke up the Shield, because when he came back, it was to a chorus of cheers.
Yes.
You could have had Roman be that guy. Roman is already your golden boy. We know, Vince McMahon, we know, Triple H, that you want Roman to be the face of your company. Why not just acknowledge it on TV? Why not put him with the Authority? Why not have him be helped out by Triple H and Kane and J&J Security and everyone else that helped Seth? But then, after a year and a half or maybe even 2 years, when Roman turns his back on the Authority, people will have gotten a level of respect for him by then. Right now, all Roman Reigns has from the people is disdain.
And what I don't understand on the WWE's end is it's not like you, me, and everybody else that's taken to any kind of platform to espouse this view is saying anything crazy. There is precedent for this. From The Rock, I mean, Hulk Hogan kind of did his in reverse because he started as a face, but then he had his heel run, and then people were more than happy to welcome him back as a face, especially WWE, like 2002. Those pops were raucous. In fact, there's a video on YouTube. He's in Toronto. He had to wait a good 5 minutes to even start speaking because Toronto just loved him that much. John Cena. John Cena, Dodger Thugonomics, and then he goes on to be the babyface. And honestly, like, I feel like he's doing quality work now. I like John Cena. I know you do too. Why can't Roman just do it? And I'm not even talking like, because people could say, oh, well, he already did it in the Shield because he was a heel in the Shield. We're talking a heel solo run here. Like, if he just does that, everything else will sort itself out. But they are just so committed to resisting, and I don't understand it. So do you have anything else you want to say on the subject?
I could have said this exact same thing at the beginning of our discussion, and it probably would have been true, but I still had to get it off my chest. I don't think that I have anything to say that hasn't already been said.
There you go. So, with that said, do you have any other nitpicks or heat of the night that you want to air out?
No.
All right, neither do I, so let us get right into our Monday Night Raw review. And we start things off with the WWE Women's Champion, Sasha Banks. I know this segment and everything that proceeded from it has been a bit controversial, not because it was Sasha. Like, a lot of people enjoyed it. Some people, though, said that it still fell into, wow, way too much talking to start a show, not enough wrestling. Where do you fall, Ashton? What did you think of all this?
I admittedly missed the first 5 minutes of this, but from what I saw, it was at least entertaining. And even though I appreciate when they change it up a bit, I'm not going to complain too much when you at the very least change up who's doing the talking at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, that's where I was forgiving myself, partner, because I loved that it was Sasha. She came out, and you deserve it. Chance started up again. And this is why it's smart, too. At least Sasha's insanely over. Like, you're capitalizing on that momentum, because normally when they do these openings, it's always a heel, or it's always a babyface of some kind of ambivalence, like a Cena or a Reigns, who, babyface in name only for the latter. And at least with Sasha, she's legitimately over, so it's a good way to capitalize on that, especially because I feel like she had the standout moment of the show last week, and that's even, regarding everything that Balor did. So she's like, thank you. The era of the boss is beginning, and I'm going to start this championship reign with a W. She talks about, take over Brooklyn last year, coming upon, 1 year later and everything, and now her and Bayley tore the house down, and she's going to tear the house down again as women's champion. Doesn't get too much into her promo, though, before Charlotte interrupts, and Charlotte is just saying, Oh, well, actually, first the crowd chanted, "You tapped out" at her. And then she's like, "It was a fly!" And, I guess swatting a fly away. And then talking about, oh, Sasha, you just capitalized on one mistake. But let me tell you something, sweetheart. There's a difference between taking home the prom king and putting a ring on his finger. And that's all you are, Sasha. You're a one-night stand. Sasha kind of takes that in and she says, "A one-night stand? You're the daughter of Ric Flair. If it wasn't for one-night stands, you wouldn't be in this ring right now." And that got a nice reaction from the crowd. I'm like, damn, Sasha, you scary.
Yeah, that was savage. I loved that line.
Dude, I love, because say what you will about Charlotte on the mic, and I honestly didn't even think she was that bad here, because, once Jericho came out, which we'll get to in a second.
She still insists on yelling and doing a Bruce Wayne, or I even messed that up, but a freaking John Wayne impression every time she cuts a promo. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
The problem isn't even what she says. That's not even her. It's the writers. They tell her what to say. My problem is her delivery, which is the only thing about her promos that she actually controls.
Exactly. Sasha, on the other hand, seems so comfortable, especially when Charlotte came out. Admittedly, it did seem like Sasha was a little nervous to start, but I think once Charlotte came out and they were able to establish that chemistry, Sasha was just rolling. And then, what did you think about the interruption of Jericho?
Jericho was different. I like that we decide to kind of mix it up with men and women in the just interacting in general in the first place. I think that's really cool.
Well, from what I understand, Jericho's been an advocate for the women for a long time. Like, I remember in a passage of, like, his first book, he talked about, like, him and Michelle McCool and Layla. Like, I think they were going over a match that they had at a pay-per-view. And, it was common back then that it was said, oh, you can't out-wrestle the guys. Like, you can't do the stuff that the guys are doing. And Jericho's like, man, screw that. If you want to do something, do it. So I think he is probably stoked inside that we have a women's division like this, at least on Raw. SmackDown is slowly but surely coming together. It'll be interesting to see what develops from that. But, and to be a part of it, especially with the two women that are kind of spearheading the movement on Raw anyway, and Charlotte and Sasha, Jericho comes out, quiet, 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 and, just over and over. And then finally gets Sasha and says, quiet. How dare you disrespect Charlotte, Sasha? Her father, is a legend, and yet she's already surpassed everything that he's ever done in his career. In like 2 or 3 years, I think Jericho said, she's done more than her father has. And what exactly makes you a boss, huh? You gonna tell me what to do? You sign my paychecks? And, Jericho's really grilling Sasha. I really wanted Sasha, if I had one nitpick of this, I really wanted her to have a mic retort, and just kind of burn Jericho. I thought that would have been great, especially with how he calls everybody stupid idiot. And, when he gets called out, he kind of stumbles and he's like, Appleton and stuff like that. I would have liked Sasha to kind of bite back a little bit.
Yeah, you know what, though? I don't know if Sasha or Charlotte even knew what Jericho was going to say here, because he's one of the less scripted people.
That is true.
And
that is true.
I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that she can't do it, but we don't know for sure if Sasha has that, improv ability where she can, take what someone says, turn it into something entertaining, and then, quit back quickly. I mean, I'd like to believe that that's in her arsenal, but we've never seen her do that.
That's true, but we do know someone who does have that in their arsenal, the smack talker Skywalker.
Which is why it made all the sense in the world for him to be the one of all people to come out and help Sasha out.
Definitely. Enzo Amore comes out. Now, see, this is a treat. One, if you're an NXT fan, seeing Enzo and Sasha and Charlotte, because I still am a fan of her NXT work, admittedly, you've got to be smiling knowing that 3/4 of that ring right now are NXT. And
the fourth one is Chris freaking Jericho.
Exactly, who's on top of his freaking game right now, all these years later, still doing quality work. And the other thing that made me smile, and then I want to get your thoughts about Enzo, Ashton, we had never seen Enzo, or Cass for that matter, the realest guys, interact with Sasha Banks, because she was always a heel. They were babyfaces. We never even saw them in backstage segments together. So this is a first-time interaction, which put a big grin on my face. But what did you think about Enzo here?
Well, come on, man. What do I think about Enzo? Enzo is remarkable. He's freaking improv king at this point. I think one of the first things that he did was just have this like the random "how you doing" off with Sasha. It was, admittedly, I will say that was awkward. That was like, are they like flirting or like what's going on right here? Would Mikaze approve of this? Like,
I was thinking the same thing.
well,
I was
Mikaze and Enzo's dating Liv Morgan in NXT too, so just. Is this more of Vince screwing with people's relationships, like what he did with Dolph and Lana and Summer and Rusev, or I don't know? I'm kind of tight butthole here, and, then yeah, Enzo kind of quips back at Jericho, and the one thing I will give Charlotte credit, she said, go for it, girl. I hear there's only one way to describe Enzo Amore's love life. So that was funny.
Yeah.
And I also like that Enzo said to Sasha, you call yourself the boss, but I think you're a little bit more of a BAUCE boss.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. That was good. But then, Jericho again. Jericho is legitimately, I think, has he ever been more entertaining than he is right now?
I don't think so.
It's hard to say. It's really up there. But eventually Enzo tells Chris Jericho, do you know what it's like listening to you talk? It's like when you're texting somebody and you see those three little dots show up, like they're typing something and they're thinking about what to say, and you're waiting and you're anticipating something coming out, but then you forget to press send.
Oh, Enzo.
And then, of course, Jericho's just like, watch it. And Enzo goes, watch what? And Jericho gets all intense and he gets up in Enzo's face and he's just like, it.
I love Jericho, man.
Yeah. And then Enzo cut this really heartfelt promo about how, well, I'm watching it because it's my life and all this stuff. And then, so Charlotte and Jericho are just hating, and Enzo and Sasha even do the cup haters thing too. And before you know it, this ends up with Mick Foley coming out and setting up a mixed tag match to take place right now.
Yep, and that's the first match we open with. Enzo and Sasha versus Jericho and Charlotte. I personally enjoyed this match. I thought it was a good dynamic. Love the closing minutes when Sasha slapped the taste out of Jericho's mouth. But an interesting booking decision with Charlotte pinning Sasha. I've been kind of torn on this. I almost kind of wish that Jericho would have pinned Enzo if the heels had to go over. What do you think about Charlotte pinning the champion? Do you think it's good heat for her going into SummerSlam, or do you think this is ill-advised?
The thing is, it was a tag team match, so you can still say that she's undefeated in singles.
That is true, and it did take Dana Brooks' interference for that to happen.
Exactly, and Jericho's distraction, because the slap is actually what led to Charlotte getting the win, because Dana interfered and Sasha kneed her, and then Charlotte tried to roll up on Sasha. Sasha kicked out, rolled up Charlotte. Charlotte kicked out, then Sasha slapped Jericho across the face. Then Charlotte did the club to Sasha's back, and then natural selection for the win.
Right.
So that whole sequence, it basically took 3 people, including a male, to put Sasha down.
Yeah. And then after the match, we have Jericho. He hits the code breaker on Enzo, and it seems like more damage is going to be done. But then Big Cass comes out. And I'm telling you, if they're really doing the slow burn for both Enzo and Cass, because it's very interesting the feud they're going to be in, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the show because it came full circle. They're doing the slow burn of these guys. I can tell you it could probably pay off in a huge way, because I love that they're interacting with these names already. And by the way, how could I be remiss to not mention the most important point? Kevin Owens was on commentary for the entire thing, which again is integral to the larger story at hand, which we'll resolve later. Really enjoyed Kevin Owens on commentary. I thought he was great. Usual quips, towards Cole and Saxton. Always a good time to hear Kevin Owens speak his mind.
Kevin Owens on commentary is just so obnoxious, and all that really does is tell me that he's amazing at his job, because if your goal is to get people to hate you, him on commentary works.
But I'll tell you something right now. If Kevin Owens was on SmackDown, I would have given him a deal that says, okay, Kevin, you wrestle your match because we're still going to heavily book you, but when you're not competing, you're commentating. JBL, you're fired. I would take Kevin Owens over JBL in a heartbeat any day of the week. Well, because while he has a tendency to be obnoxious, and And so what anyway? And Kevin Owens even had a remark about a half a brain with Michael Cole, and he said, "Oh well, you do have a brain. Congratulations." But yeah, like he is
Yeah,
so
because
good.
Michael Cole told Owens that he thought he should have been drafted in the first round.
Yeah, and then Kevin Owens is like, "Wow, Cole, I don't believe it. You actually do have a brain after all." That was so fucking good. So yeah,
Yeah, it's weird though that Michael Cole was suddenly pandering to Owens. I think it was just like a coward moment where he was just like, "Please don't hurt me, Mr. Kevin."
actually, to defend Cole, and I can't believe that's another sentence I'm saying on TwitWoW. I did hear like in the lead up to the draft, Kevin Owens is having some match, I think against Cesaro, because they have worked together a few times now, and he said Kevin Owens could be a top 5 pick, I guess, because he's so impressive in there, which he is because he's a father, damn it. So great stuff there.
Do you guys want me
Entertain.
to bring that shirt back? I probably could. I could probably redesign it to fit his more contemporary shirt.
I feel like people would probably enjoy it, so we'll
I don't
see. I
know,
mean, guys,
maybe.
let us
I
know.
mean, people buy more than one Kevin Owens shirt, so you can buy more than one because he's a father damage shirt, right?
Yeah, buy one for every day of the week so you never have to stop wearing it. Ever. But yeah, fun tag match and great energy that preceded it with the segment, so I liked how everything came together. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, the match itself, I actually every week that goes by, I'm more and more impressed by Enzo in the ring. Like I've never really seen him as a great in-ring worker, but he's gotten so good.
Yeah, he has.
I mean, and I'm not necessarily saying that he's like a ring technician by any means, but he's getting good enough in the ring where it's covered up by how charismatic he is and how well he sells and how good his body language and facial expressions and stuff like that are. Like he does everything else so well that just by being like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 in the ring rather than a 3 or a 4 out of 10, which is what I would say he was back in NXT, it makes him look really, really fun in the ring.
Oh, absolutely. I'm telling you, Enzo Amore, he's what stars are made of, and he's slowly putting it together. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. In at least 5 years, maybe sooner, maybe a bit later, but 5 years is a window I always like to use. He's going to be huge. I mean, he already is, but I mean, even bigger, even in a singles context. I think Enzo's really going to hit his stride.
Yeah, I mean, like I said on the one live reaction, the angry Mark over at Under the Mat Radio has come right out and said that he thinks Enzo is going to be a world champion before Big Cass.
And we shall see, but for the moment, Cash saving Enzo, standing his ground. Jericho retreats for the moment, and again, there was a resolution to the story. We know where it's going, but we'll get to that later. Any other remarks you have about this, partner?
I don't think so, no.
All right, let's move on.
All right, up next, we had our second match of the night, Braun Strowman versus Evan Anderhole.
Oh my god, this is so
You really enjoyed this, huh?
I did. Me and my scum squad on Twitter, we all really enjoyed it. I personally,
Wait. I'm sorry. Did you just call them your scum squad?
yeah, because I found that there are more scumbags like me, and I know Brandon Best, shout out to him because he gave me the idea. He immediately, I think him and DBK, they were calling it the Scum Club, but everybody has a club. I wanted a squad, especially with Suicide Squad coming out in theaters soon.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I don't know if I would even go there because a lot of people are actually kind of angry about Suicide Squad and think it looks crappy. I mean, I'm with you. I think it looks good, but there are a lot of people that you'd alienate by using that word.
Well, I'll take my chances. I mean, if I'm stupid enough to.
Do you think that on average, on the mean, or on the median, or however you want to look at it, scumbags per capita think Suicide Squad looks like a good movie more than people who aren't scumbags?
That's a census I haven't partaken in, but anybody down in the.
Given that the entire plot of the movie is we get the bad guys to do the job for the good guys.
Right. But, yeah, now.
I send a hero to do a villain's job.
I mean, that's certainly true, and I don't know, but the point I was going to make, and now I lost my train of thought. What segment was this that we were covering?
Oh, yeah, we were covering the whole Strowman thing.
Oh, Strowman, yeah. Like I said, me and my fellow scumbags, we wanted to see, his sternum get crushed by Strowman. So that was a bit of a nitpick that didn't happen, but I still love that they're utilizing squash matches to build Strowman up because, like I tweeted tonight, then when somebody, and you've been saying Big Show, and I certainly sign on to that, when he comes out and, he says, oh, pick on somebody your own size or something to that effect, it's going to be meaningful because finally Strowman will be challenged. So, yeah, I like that they're utilizing squash matches for him for the moment.
Yeah. Big Show can come out, and just because we've already heard, pick on someone your own size so freaking often,
Right.
be like, Pasias.
And whether it's Seth Rollins or Balor, or by the time they get to it, maybe it'll be somebody completely different. If WWE, and I'm willing to bet that they do, I really am, if they're committed to eventually getting Strowman in the WWE Universal Championship picture, if you have a guy the stature of like Rollins or especially Balor, that could be like a very entertaining, at least, David versus Goliath story. Because I know they've tried telling it in the past, and like one example that comes to mind, like Rey Mysterio and Khali, that always annoyed me. But when you've got people in the ring of the ability of Braun Strowman and Finn Balor, I think it could work. Or Seth Rollins, or again, maybe somebody else entirely, but you get my point. So if that's the end game, he goes through all these jobbers, then he goes through Big Show, and then maybe he gets a world title shot somehow. I think it'll be a good build. So I'm excited to see what happens with Strowman.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I kind of feel like my dumb little joke there went over your head.
Yeah, it definitely did. What was your joke?
All I said was because we've already heard the Big Show say pick on someone your own size so many times, he can just come out and say Pasias, because that would be like the abbreviation for pick on someone your own size.
Ah, okay.
And
Okay.
then he could just randomly say that word. No one has a clue what the hell he's talking about, and then he beats the shit out of Braun. And then the following week, we can have some random interviewer, probably Tom Phillips, be like, "What did you say?" And Big Show can explain why he said that instead of going full blown pick on someone your own size.
There you go.
I know it's
Excellent.
dumb, but it fills space, and WWE seems to care more about that than putting on entertaining television, so why not do it?
I mean, you're not wrong. So, what did you think about all this? Do you have any idea? I mean, beyond Big Show, I mean, about like where this could go for Strowman?
I would say that it's very possible that somebody else could step up to him first, but I really do think it's going to end up being Show. I mean, the only reason that I say someone else might do it first is because maybe like Mark Henry starts to feel big one day, and he's already kind of been fed to Rusev. Maybe he gets fed to Braun as well.
Right, right.
You know?
We'll see, man. But I do think Big Show, because we haven't even seen him yet since the draft. And that's another thing, too, about this Raw that I will posit as a compliment, not necessarily an insult. Guys that weren't on the premiere Raw, like after the draft, they showed up tonight. Like Sheamus wasn't seen last week, but he was seen this week, and we'll get to that later. Same way with, well, actually, no, they both were, because they were both in Fatal 4-Ways. That's my mistake. But I guess in terms of their motivations, like we didn't really know what they wanted from the draft and this and that, they got a bit more fleshed out this week. And Big Show, though, still like under the radar. So I really do agree with you. That's how he's going to reemerge with Strowman. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So then up next, we had our backstage segment here, and I just was mentioning Mark Henry, and it's actually fitting because this was his segment. Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley backstage talking about how they'd never want to be in there with Braun Strowman. He's so big and tough and scary. And then Mark Henry shows up. And he talks about, I'm excited for the new era, but I've been refurbishing the Hall of Pain, and I think it's time for it to reopen. And Stephanie's just like, wait, no. See, what you got to understand is I drafted you to be a mentor because of how much the guys look up to you. And he's just like, with all due respect, Steph, you're wrong.
I love this.
I know. He's back to being quotable again. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Every single time somebody says something ignorant now, I'm going to just say, with all due respect, you're wrong.
And you know something, like,
Are you not going to acknowledge that is an amazing line?
Oh, yeah, no, Henry's always on point. I freaking loved it again. I just think my disappointment was when Mick immediately followed it up with, U.S. Championship match. Because I really wanted Henry, because it even came off as he's got this chip on his shoulder. And he feels not necessarily jaded by this new era, but like, hey, don't count me out. I got a lot left in the tank. So I really wanted to see him squash somebody, and maybe we'd get heel Mark Henry for a babyface, maybe like Neville, to be a scrapper and try and overcome. But I guess what happened with Henry getting a U.S. title match is fine, too. I really didn't know how to feel about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it was just so good. Like, when Henry is on and he's got good stuff to work with, like his ability being called into question or something like that, he can cut a mean promo. I'd say to a degree, not to a major degree, but to a slight degree, Henry is underrated on the mic. Because I do feel like he can work it. I mean, I'll never forget when he won the world title. Oh, y'all cheering me? You're all haters! I ain't sharing this with none of you! And, just so, angry. And
I got a lot left in the tank.
Exactly. I mean, dude, there are
You
still
think
people.
It's that easy?
There are still people to this day that say that faux retirement was one of the best Raw segments ever.
Oh, it was. It was. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so, like...
And I mean, we had so many quotable lines come out of that one segment alone.
Exactly. And
of course, Mark Henry's world title reign is the stuff of legends. I legitimately think that there are a big chunk of people who did not watch SmackDown during the time of Mark Henry's title reign, and they don't know what they missed.
Exactly. They probably operated under the assumption, oh God, Henry's world champion, and they associated that with prior memories that they had of Henry, not realizing the character development he underwent. And so they probably thought, oh, well, it's probably going to be crap, so I'm just going to skip and wait for this storm, to kind of ride out. And yet it turned out being so freaking good. Definitely one of the best reigns in that belt's history since, being reintroduced in 2002. Like, so freaking good. Really enjoyed the promo here. Love the confidence. Love that Henry wants to get back in the game. And yeah, the U.S. Championship match, interesting payoff. I don't even really know if I agree because Henry just re-showed up on the radar getting a U.S. Championship match. But, I guess we have stories to tell, and what can you do, right? So there you go.
Yeah, just... if they really do give Mark Henry another run, I mean, I know they probably won't because he did lose tonight to Rusev, but God, that would make me happy. He needs to teach somebody the art of banter.
Yeah, he really does.
The art of speaking in sound bites, too. Like, him and Heyman need to both hold a master class on that and just teach everybody how to do it.
So good.
You just the world's largest loser.
I love, too, because I know that's the most quotable line from that, but from that same segment, he's like, now hold up. Because Big Show, barged in. He was demanding stuff of Teddy Long. You come in here, all your heavy breathing. You wait your turn.
And, of course, the most legendary line from that entire run to Teddy Long. Don't let your foolish pride get in the way of this business.
So good. I love it so much.
That was during an amazing era, man. Those, I would say maybe 6 months from SummerSlam 2011 to WrestleMania, I want to say 28, maybe 20. I think it was 20. WrestleMania in 2012. I don't know what the number was. I think it was 28.
Yeah, I think it was 28. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, those 6 months though, from August 2011 to I guess it would be 8 months then, because then it would be to April 2012, were on SmackDown specifically amazing. Because, I mean, not only did you have Mark Henry doing his thing with the Hall of Pain, but you also had heel Daniel Bryan with his girlfriend, his 95-pound girlfriend, AJ Lee, and they were amazing.
Yeah, everything was so good.
And I love, too, that Big Show was the victim of all of their amazing lines.
Yeah.
Get your damn hand off my shoulder.
I even love to, even Josh Matthews had a great line, because I think he was still with the company then. And Big Show was trying to be all cool about it, TLC, when he finally beat Henry, only to be cashed in on by Bryan. And he's like, oh, I'm happy for the little guy. He's living his dream. And then Josh Matthews is like, Show, are you serious? You're the shortest reigning World Heavyweight Champion in history. And Show just gives him this look, and he grits his teeth like, I will knock you the fuck out. How dare you say that to me? Bad time to be a Big Show fan, but I guess they got their comeuppance later when he did beat Sheamus for the championship as a heel. So, crazy time, man. But yeah, Henry was on point here.
Big Show beat Sheamus for the championship?
Yeah, Sheamus was world champion. Big Show ended his title reign. I believe he ended it at Hell in a Cell 2012. I think that was the
I
year.
thought Del Rio ended Sheamus's title.
No, Del Rio ended Show's championship reign. Show ended Sheamus's, and then Del Rio ended Show's because he beat him in a last man standing match on SmackDown. And then they had a program that extended to Chamber.
Block Big Show out of my mind.
Maybe you did.
Yeah, you're right. Big Show defeated Sheamus in Hell in a Cell. Well, I'll be damned. I did not remember that at all. I guess that's just because after Sheamus won the title from Bryan, we both kind of stopped caring about SmackDown for the most part.
Yeah, the only time I really cared about Sheamus's reign is when I thought Del Rio was going to end it. So.
Yeah, because that was when Sheamus was face and Del Rio was heel, and yet we were convinced that it was really the other way around because Sheamus stole Del Rio's car and everything.
Yeah, not
WWE
cool.
writers, people. WWE writers, where baby faces steal cars and heels win clean.
And when guys that really should be heel after promos like this and Mark Henry are baby faces getting, U.S. championship matches. And, can I just say something, too? Another nitpick, although this is kind of one of those spoiled nitpicks where I should probably shut my mouth and this is just me being salty. All of this that's happening with the U.S. Championship is pretty insulting to Rusev. Because, he's a great heel, and he's doing great things with the belt, but Mark Henry just randomly gets a U.S. Championship match. Zack Ryder before that just asked for a U.S. Championship match. He got it. Okay? Titus, I feel like, was the same way. In fact, Titus didn't even really ask. He just interrupted a few segments. And now, Roman Reigns, after losing the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and Money in the Bank, getting suspended, losing the Battleground rematch, losing to Finn Balor last week, he could just interrupt and get a U.S. Championship. That is so deplorable to Rusev. The guy, no wonder the guy asks for competition, because even he's aware, oh my god, everybody that's challenged me for this belt is a loser. Which, there's no transitive property there, because Rusev is certainly not a loser. So, what the fuck? Just wanted to point that out.
Well, no, maybe it is a transitive property because Titus.
Maybe.
Maybe Titus started the trend.
Fuck. I mean,
when you can literally look a man's son in the eye and tell him that his father is a loser,
so good.
It's the curse of the U.S. title at this point.
Dude, that's so shitty.
Rusev got himself into some bad hoodoo when he said that.
Dude, that's so shitty for Rusev though, because and I know you agree because we're both fans. He's such a quality heel, and that's the championship you give him. I'm not even asking you to give him the world title yet. But make that mid-card championship mean something by having worthwhile contenders. I hate this idea that the U.S. Championship, and I'm sorry, folks, this is probably a horrible parallel, but it's like it's a buffet line almost. Oh, just line up. You'll all get your championship matches indiscriminately. That shouldn't be how championships work.
First come, first serve, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's just it. Oh, my God. It's so bad. It's so bad.
It is. But alas, Rusev gets screwed. And you know who else got screwed, John?
You know what? I do know a couple people who got screwed tonight, but what's our next segment? Who got screwed?
Goldust got screwed hard.
Oh my god, this fucking segment.
Do you know what the worst part of this was?
That shining stars are being completely wasted?
Well, that's really bad, but the worst part of this whole segment is that it didn't even actually look like Truth knew what the hell it was when he said that he caught one.
Yeah.
Our Truth is supposed to be playing Pokemon Go, and yet everything he's doing, for the most part, you can clearly tell he's not actually playing Pokemon Go. I thought this was cool last week, because Goldust is a legit Pokemon Go player. He reads, or not reads, but he talks to his daughter, and she teaches him about all the Pokemon and stuff, and so he's into Pokemon Go. In the meantime, our Truth, nothing against him. I don't think that it's a bad thing to not play Pokemon. It's, I don't care. But if you're supposed to be acting like you're playing the game, at least learn what it looks like to play the game.
Yeah, oh my god. Okay. First of all, to me, this feels like the infection is spreading. Now, let me explain what I mean by that.
What does that mean?
I'm going to explain. It's bad enough, right, that WWE uses things in popular culture as, references to show that the commentators, we're hip and with it, guys. We have our finger on the pulse. Them Oscars, am I right? Please laugh with me. That's
Please
bad
clap.
enough. Please clap. That's bad enough. when it's evolved now, and it's this putrid fucking organism that just needs to be shot repeatedly in the face. When it's gotten to the point now where you're using popular culture to try and create storylines. Oh my god! The Golden Truth has tension because R-Truth can't put down Pokemon Go. I knew this day was gonna come. It's probably written somewhere on a scrap of paper in my room somewhere. I fucking knew they were gonna do this one of these days, and I'm out. I'm out, man. I don't want to be a part of this era where you're gonna try and phone in popular culture as part of your storylines. Fuck that. Oh my god. And again,
You would have really hated 2000 and 2001 WCW.
You know what? I've seen some clips from those eras, and you're goddamn right I would have. Jesus, like, I remember one clip I saw, like, the Bride of Chucky had come out, and they tried to, like, I guess, I don't know, get Chucky as a part of this story. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? What is this? I'm asking the same thing now. And the really painful thing is, this is the present. You know, I just can't forget about this tomorrow. I'm gonna have to live with this shit. So, you know, and
this is your life now, John.
Exactly. And then on a saltier note, and I admit it's a salty note, Shining Stars are being completely fucking wasted with this. And yeah, they won. So people will be like, oh, but John, they won the match. But did they? Did they really win? Because when you go to the back and you realize you're a part of this shit, when really you could have been on SmackDown as a part of the tag team division and, you know, actually wrestle because you do that really well, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, honestly, and I was even thinking about this as I'm watching the match, you know what I thought to myself? I'm like, well, they called Rhino back for NXT, and now it seems like he's going to be on SmackDown, so I don't know if he's still going to show up on NXT. But I'm like, I really would love to see the Shining Stars in NXT. And immediately my next thought was, you know, a feud between them and TM61, that sounds pretty freaking good right about now. Yeah. But no, they're doing this shit. And R-Truth doesn't even know what a Pokemon is, which leads me to my last point, and I'm glad you reminded everybody, because I know you said this last week. Goldust is a legitimate Pokemon Go player. So, to give this story just a semblance of authenticity, wouldn't it have been better if the roles were reversed? If R-Truth, for once in his life, you know, was like, oh, you know, maybe we should take this a bit seriously. We're kind of a tag team now, and we need to get our chakras right. And fuck that too, by the way. But no, Truth apparently caught the bug. Because apparently he's not catching anything else because he's not going to play the fucking game. Oh my god. I hated this so much. I
think he claimed to have caught one, you know, during the match before he randomly walked away and tried to grab at air, because if he caught the Pokemon, it's not there anymore. And even for some reason, after he caught the Pokemon, he was still trying to grab at it as if it was actually there through his phone. Yeah, but yeah, he said, I caught it, and there was this kind of moment of, oh my god, you actually don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and look, I'm sorry. Actually, no, I'm really not.
No.
Goldust, you're pathetic. You have the lowest standards of anybody here, and I say that because there was a point in this match. Goldust was going to make the tag. R-Truth moves out of the way because apparently he's navigating Pokemon or whatever the fuck. I wouldn't be surprised if he was playing freaking Solitaire and he thought it was Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
And he drops the phone. And when he drops the phone, he has his attention on Goldust in that moment, right? And looking right at Goldust, he opts to go for the phone. Like, oh, just give me a second, man. Give me a second. I'm going to get the phone. No, fuck you, give you a second. We're in a fucking match, you asshole. Take the tag and get us the win. But no. Shining Stars roll Goldust up. Now, I'm not blaming Goldust for eating the pin. There's only so much you can do when your partner's a fucking half-wit. Where I say that you have low standards, you tell him, come on, man, that's it. I would have beaten the shit out of him after that. I would have been like, I just got pinned because of your unreliable ass, and you're still fucking playing Pokemon Go, even though you should, like me, be enraged that we lost. Fuck yourself, dude. No. Actually, no. This calls for one of my proper R-Truth playing Pokemon Go. Fuck him. Fuck this, man. Fuck R-Truth. Fuck Golden Truth. I was tolerating it. But then you made Goldust look absolutely pathetic because he's probably just thinking, well, you know, I need to get paid. I do love bread on my table, and you know, you're the best thing I got.
How hard he tried to get R-Truth to be his partner, though.
Yeah, you put in all that effort. You put in all that effort for this. if this segment convinced me of anything, it is that Cody's the smart one of the family. I am so sorry, Ashton, because normally anymore I don't like to talk for that long. I do like to share segments. I apologize.
No, I was perfectly happy taking a back seat for that. That was worth it.
I just hate them so much, dude. Like, let me just ask you seriously. Do you agree with anything I said at all about phoning in the popular culture for storylines or anything like that? Because it just frustrates me to no end.
Here's the thing, John. Normally I completely agree with you that the whole forced pop culture references thing is obnoxious. But again, I can't emphasize enough that last week when Goldust did it, it worked because Goldust is an actual Pokemon Go player. Like, if they would have, and Xavier Woods did it too. Xavier Woods said, oh yeah, level, I think it was 21 or something like that. And then he said something about Team Valor. So if talking about Pokemon Go isn't so much forced pop culture as it is just actual people on the roster that like the game that want to talk about it.
Right. And again,
this week they took it too far.
Right.
Because they implemented it into a storyline, and now it's not even the actual Pokemon Go player whose storyline kayfabe playing Pokemon Go, it's his partner who he's trying to teach the game. And you know what, though? I will say I can relate to this because when I first discovered Pokemon, I was obsessed with it too. And I think that this even has a level of social commentary to it that certain video games and certain forms of entertainment and being, developing obsessions over them can be bad for you in your life because it might cause you to, in this example, be distracted on your job.
That's far more intelligent than what they're going for. I could promise you that right now. But it doesn't surprise me because you're an intelligent guy. No, I'm glad you took that route because obviously we need balanced voices here. And my voice with this segment was anything but balanced. And again, I do apologize. And again, I just want to reemphasize, if it was Goldust doing this in On Our Truth, I think I would have been more forgiving because I do remember you saying last week he is a legitimate Pokemon Go player. So I would have been like, okay, we do have that sense of realism to it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually saw a video on the Up Up Down Down YouTube channel of him and Xavier in a parking lot playing Pokemon Go. I think Goldust is level 18, which is really impressive.
Absolutely. But I don't think I like you have this legitimate Pokemon Go player and instead you opt to give this to the other half of Golden Truth just because, R-Truth, he's crazy and he's silly, so let's give him something else, and it's a shame because I like R-Truth too. It's not that I have anything against him personally. It's just, again, like you say about Roman Reigns, I hate the freaking writing. I almost wish we'd have, Heel Truth back doing this crap at least. But, yeah, I just really can't sink my teeth into Golden Truth at all. I think everybody...
I'm just waiting for the Heel Truth promo when he talks about how, man, they told me to play on the phone.
I hope he says it exactly like that. Man, they told me to play on the phone. Little Jimmy always getting me sad. It'll just be so freaking good. But, yeah.
Now, R-Truth, be a good little Jimmy and play on the phone.
That's what I want. And I know you can't get what you want, but sometimes you might find you get what you need. And I didn't even get that here. So song lyrics, once again, lying to me straight to my face.
Yeah.
So that's great.
If you're looking at song lyrics for knowledge, you're looking at the wrong place, brother.
And I think you're the most legitimate source on that subject to tell that to me. So on that front, let's move on.
Up next, we had Dwight Howard and Tim Hardaway Jr. in the crowd, just kind of hyping up the crowd, and then we cut to the middle of the ring, and Michael Cole's there. Talk about one extreme to the other. And he introduces Finn Balor. Finn does his epic, long 5-minute entrance, and then the first thing Cole says, Finn, you shocked the world last week. You were a first-round draft pick, and then last week you won your first 2 matches on Monday Night Raw to earn a shot against Seth Rollins at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship. What are you thinking doing this stuff? And Finn says that he knew that he had to make an impact and all this other stuff, and then next thing you know, Seth's music hits.
Okay, now because I talked extensively about the preceding segment, I want to start right out of the gate with your thoughts. What did you think of this Seth-Finn interaction?
Okay, here's the thing. I thought that Finn's promo was infinitely better than I expected it to be. However, that being said, it still wasn't great. It still was nowhere near on the same level as Seth's.
Right.
Seth, to me, is a top 5 mic worker in the company right now. And you put him out there on the mic against Finn, and the difference is staggering to me.
Yeah, here's the thing. best case scenario for Finn Balor, he becomes the next Seth Rollins. And what I mean about that is, and I love that you actually gave me this line to work with, that you think he's a top 5 like mic worker in the company. It wasn't always that way for Seth, and you know that. Like, a lot of people actually bastardized his mic work on Ring of Honor, and
On
then
Ring
he
of
grew.
Honor, yeah, but I feel like since he's been on the main roster, he's pretty much always been one of the upper echelon talkers.
And I would agree. I just hope now that Finn's on the main stage, and I wish he would have gotten better, obviously, in NXT, where you're
And
supposed to get
another
better at
thing
these
that it's
things.
worth pointing out, Seth got to WWE when he was like 26.
Right.
Finn's 35.
Right. But here's the thing. I feel like Finn's promo, and like you said, it was infinitely better than you expected to be, but still not as good as Seth's. I feel like, and I know we shouldn't settle for this, and I do hope Finn gets better, but for the moment, I thought it was good enough. Like, to get me hyped for SummerSlam, I thought Finn did fine. Seth, of course, did fantastic. I loved how he even made like a Ghostbusters comparison, and he's like, oh, I'm Bill Murray, but you're Melissa McCarthy. And he did the laugh. We got the cackle from Seth. There it is. And it's just, oh, it makes my black heart so, so happy. But, I mean, Ashton, continue, because I don't know if you had any more thoughts you wanted to give about this promo between these two.
Yeah. Sorry. I actually loved what was said here, which I have to praise the writers because again, we bash them when they do shit like Roman still being face, and you brought something up about how you hated them doing this whole Pokemon Go thing with Goldust and R-Truth, but let's give them credit where it's due. They wrote an amazing promo exchange here.
Definitely.
Finn talking about how everywhere he's ever been, there's always been a guy like Seth who claimed to be the man, and he beat them and took their spot. That was the line of the promo for me.
Yeah, definitely.
So even though Finn, and it's funny, I was actually talking to Razor Cabrone on Twitter about this. He said that Finn doesn't have charisma. I don't agree with that. I think he does. I feel like if Finn lacks anything that would make him better on the mic, it's intensity. And I think that that's something that Sami Zayn lacked for a long time until his feud with Neville, and then the intensity ramped up, and all of a sudden Sami Zayn was cutting amazing promos.
See, and what's funny and what gives me hope for Balor, and certainly Balor fans like my boy Stephen Herman can take comfort in this. I don't think Balor's a lost cause on the mic, because if there's one thing that I believe Balor's always had, even on NXT, he has a believability to me when he speaks. I agree with you, the intensity isn't always there. In fact, the most I think I ever saw it was when Joe beat him for the NXT title, and then Balor kind of responded, verbally at least.
Yeah.
But he's always come off as believable to me. Like, I believe that he believes what he's saying, and he has that confidence. I sense that again here. And again, that line that you said, guys like you, Seth, where I was, I would beat those guys. I would take their spot. And
if only he was right.
but I also
he never beat Tanahashi. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. See, I think, well, obviously, I came into New Japan after the Balor years. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have seen some of his work, but
never beat Nakamura either.
Oh well, yeah, and yeah, he still can't say that he has. Yeah, I was about to say, but he did now, but he didn't. So
that was interesting because there was right at the tail end of his run in New Japan, there was a time where him, despite being a junior heavyweight, had sort of outgrown the junior heavyweight division and was starting to challenge heavyweight competitors.
Right.
And his first big match was against Nakamura for the world title.
Right.
And even despite a whole assload of Bullet Club interference, he still lost. So
damn.
So yeah, I mean, the thing is, Seth isn't as big or long or just ridiculously amazing at everything as Nakamura. And the difference, though, is that Finn doesn't have the Bullet Club to back him up. So maybe
but he may have Balor Club, maybe, possibly.
Oh, he doesn't. He doesn't until he does. And right now he doesn't. Therefore, he doesn't.
I love that you're adamant about that, like I'm adamant about Reigns not turning. I love how we both have our things that we're just adamant about.
That's because there's, like, to me, all signs point to Roman must turn heel. If Roman doesn't turn heel, it's a mistake. But with the Balor Club, that's just something people think is going to happen. It's not necessarily something that logically needs to happen, like Roman turning heel.
And I would agree with that point. I just, it's funny, and we'll talk more about it at SummerSlam preview and predictions. But yeah, I mean, just something I'm keeping in the back of my mind. But my favorite line of this exchange was definitely the whole theme of, oh, well, Seth, you got to buy into the whole championship finals. You know, you didn't have to even
See,
compete
I
before the main
didn't
event.
like that because that brushed under the rug Seth's accomplishments prior to the tournament.
Which I feel like Seth, though, kind of reaffirmed, though, didn't he? As a retort, like, well, you know, that was a part of his whole thing. Like, I beat Roman Reigns before you did, and I did it better. And like, you know, I've been a world champion. I'm one of the best in this
But at
company.
no point did he bring up that he was the rightful world champion. He got cashed in on by Dean, and then he never got pinned in the triple threat.
Right, right.
If he would have brought that up, that would have completely delegitimized Finn's claim that he was handed everything, because he clearly wasn't.
But I feel like the reason they didn't negate it was for the ending line at SummerSlam, I'm going to hand you your ass from
Yeah.
Finn to Seth, which I liked. And I will say, regardless of who's where on the mic or this and that, like this segment did accomplish me being amped up for their match. In fact, I even tweeted out after this segment, their match at SummerSlam is going to start the WWE Universal Championship off on the right foot to me.
Yeah, dude,
Like,
I don't care who wins. It's a win-win for me. Seth is either going to be the first ever NXT and WWE Universal Champion of all time, or Finn is going to be the first ever Universal Champion of all time, and he is the first member of the Big Five. Remember the NXT signees, the Big Five,
right,
to win a main championship on the main roster. Now,
right.
just to clarify, the Big Five in NXT was always Sammy, Kevin, Hideo, Finn, and Neville.
Right, right.
So, and then none of those guys have ever won a world championship on the main roster. Finn could become the first.
Right, and I still have my thoughts about that. We'll see if they change by the time SummerSlam preview predictions rolls around.
It's
But
so
I am
interesting, by the way, because if, and this is a big if, but it's also a big hope on our part, if Hideo Itami does become the next NXT champion, it would mean that every single one of the last five, including him, of the last five NXT champions were members of the Big Five, because it went Neville, then Sammy, then Owens, then Finn. And I guess Samoa Joe kind of broke that up, but hopefully Hideo is next in line.
definitely.
Because
Definitely.
that, like, when they were all signed and it was like this big deal, like these were the NXT 5, like these were like the big deal, because we had the NXT 5 with the men and the NXT 4 horsewomen with Becky, Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley. So yeah, like, you know, these big deal characters and these big deal role players and big deal wrestlers and stuff being featured is awesome. And like I said, Finn might become the first member of the Big Five to win a main event championship on the main roster.
We shall see. But until then, I've got nothing more to say about this segment. Well, I mean, Finn did avert a cheap shot by Seth Rollins, and he sends him out to the ring, which I thought that was a nice little touch, because not too much physicality, but just enough from Finn to Seth to say, hey, don't underestimate me. So, yeah, I was amped up. I think this championship's going to start off on the right foot.
Either way.
Yeah, either way, definitely. Definitely. So, anything else you want to say about this?
I don't think so. I think that this was a decent promo exchange. I think Finn still has some work to do on the mic, but he's passable, and his sort of natural charisma and presence help for him to kind of be more acceptable by a big crowd as a mic worker. And what he said definitely helped, because, again, the writing was great for this segment. But end of the day, Finn did get the upper hand, because as soon as Finn said that I'm going to hand you your ass at SummerSlam, Seth tries to attack him. Finn immediately counters, punch, back fist, Pele kick, knocks Seth out of the ring, and Finn stands tall.
Yeah, man, great stuff.
And I think that was actually the first segment of the entire night where a babyface stood tall to end it.
Yeah.
Because if you'll remember, first segment we had Jericho and Charlotte win. Second segment we had Strowman win. Third segment we saw the Shining Stars win. And then we had this. And all of a sudden now we've got Finn stand tall.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. That said, though, it wasn't the last time that a babyface stood tall, but it was the last time in a while, or for a while, I guess I should say, that one did. Because up next was Rusev versus Mark Henry.
Yeah. First of all, I guess I'll take the reins on the match portion. I said take the reins.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I appreciated how much Rusev sold for Henry in this match. Henry did look legitimate, like, for the first few minutes of the bout when they're like, oh, it's a reinvigorated Mark Henry, whatever. And I love Mark, so this isn't going to be me, like, denigrating him, the next second. He put in a good performance. Rusev sold, and, he was a convincing heel, and then he had the dominant finish with the accolade. Not really a long championship match. I mean, nobody's going to expect a 25-minute clinic from these two guys, especially Henry. Rusev then grabs him.
Did you see the Vince McMahon Googling tweet earlier during this match?
No.
Just how long before Mark Henry injures himself?
Oh my God. Not wrong though.
No, not wrong at all.
And then Rusev, cuts a promo, denigrating the U.S., saying, oh, you guys, you guys cheat to get gold medals, Rio, you bar real athletes like those from Russia and Bulgaria from competing because you're scared. Your gold medal's a fraud, more or less. And then Roman Reigns interrupts.
Right, because clearly that's what they were setting up for here, right?
Yeah, I mean, let me just say this. If you were really anticipating Kurt Angle from the USA Sucks reference and the gold medal and all the Olympics talk, I am so sorry for your blue balls, and I sympathize, because last week all it was, oh, we're in Angle's hometown. That was really it. Here, WWE had to get wind of the rumors, and they wanted to fuck with us, because this felt far more deliberate to me. Like, we could chalk up last week to a happy accident. Oh, it just happens to be in his hometown. This week, nah, man. All those allusions to Kurt Angle, that ain't gonna fly. But we get Roman Reigns. And we already had the discussion on Heat of the Night. Is there anything else you want to add to that prior discussion? Anything you want to say here?
Roman Reigns. I mean, again, I said this earlier, and I want to re-emphasize it. I like Roman Reigns. I really do. I want to enjoy seeing him on my television. I want to look forward to him being on my television, and they just insist on doing everything in their power to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, they really don't care about our happiness or about Roman's potential. Yeah.
Roman's probably freaking miserable having to be a babyface.
Yeah, after everything he's endured, he's probably just thinking at this point, oh, please let me be heel. And so we're here now. It's probably going to be, a match at SummerSlam, obviously.
Everyone hates me, but I have to just smile and chuck it down.
Exactly. And these two should put on a good match, to be fair. It's just, I wish I could be more into the story. I really do. Like, it's hard to make an investment. I'm not going to lie to anybody. Roman's alignment is all wrong. While I'm happy for Rusev to be facing people like Roman Reigns in a legitimate program, I wish it was under better circumstances. And I just feel like everybody's kind of getting a raw deal here. So that's really all I have to say about that segment. If you have anything else you want to say, I mean, obviously you can say it, but I'm comfortable with moving on.
Everybody's getting a Monday Night Raw deal.
Oh, look at you.
I had to. I couldn't.
I understand, man. You got to do what you got to do.
And I had to, so.
So what came after this?
After this was a Nia Jax vignette, and then we got right into Titus O'Neil versus Darren Young.
Okay, I got to stop the brakes right here, and I got to ask you, what do you think about whatever the hell's going on with all this?
I said it on Twitter, and I'll say it again. I got to admit, I can dig a heel Titus.
I can too. My only thing is, I really hope you commit this time. Because, remember, they did this once before when the Primetime Players originally broke up.
Yeah.
Now, oddly enough, though, right, some of the circumstances this time around are a bit better. For one thing, Darren Young has Bob Backlund. He has something that, I mean, speaking solely for myself here, I enjoy, and I know you do too. It does seem relatively over. I'm not going to say that Darren Young's the top babyface or anything ludicrous, but, he does seem to have fanfare a little bit. And, so he's got that going for him. Titus as a heel can work. I mean, and you know what? There's actually a legitimate story there to a point, because I think after his failure to Rusev and being emasculated in front of his children, which he should be eternally mocked for anyway, he realizes, oh, well, you got to do anything you can to win in this business. So there is a story there. I'm uneasy about trusting WWE to write it properly, because the last time they tried these two feuding, you had the proper alignments and everything, but it just seemed like you gave up on Titus and Darren, for that matter, shortly afterwards.
Well, and I think that the reason for that is because they didn't feel like either one of them were getting over.
Right.
Whereas with this, I think Darren Young is pretty freaking over already, admittedly.
Yeah, which is great to see, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
happy for Darren. I'm really happy.
And especially Bob. I feel like Bob Backlund might be the most over person out of all three of these men.
Oh, and I love his intensity. We'll get to that a little bit later. So, like, and even the match wasn't bad because it told a good story. You know, Titus had this backstage segment with Darren, and he's like, oh, you know, to be great again, don't you have to be great in the first place? And I'm just sitting here like, bitch, what you talking about? You lost your bid for the U.S. Championship. At least Darren came close, and he was legitimately the victim of horrible officiating. So then they have this match, and Titus kind of roughs Darren up a bit, and then he goes for a handshake. You know, Darren slaps it away like, you know, man, what the hell's going on with you? They have a solid back and forth match considering it's the two of them, and you have all this history. And then Darren misses a maneuver. Titus rolls him up, but he grabs the tights. So very clearly, Titus is going heel. I'm going to say the same thing about this that I said about Ambrose Ziggler, which I'm going to be very curious after that Balor-Rollins segment how Ambrose Ziggler responds tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep an open mind to this. I am. And I hope, and I'll even give WWE credit on this, I think they will. I want them to finish the story this time. And I feel like maybe they did last time in their minds because Titus ultimately did get the win in a pay-per-view match that those two had. But, I mean, don't let these guys gas out as soon as they're done their business with each other. I mean, keep in mind, Darren was still screwed out of the IC Championship. That hasn't been addressed. I mean, logically, it should have been
addressed last week.
Well, it was addressed that, you know, Backlund said you are going to be a champion. To me, logically, and I'm being dead serious here, it almost would have made more sense for Darren Young to interrupt Rusev than Roman Reigns to interrupt Rusev. Because Bob Backlund, I mean, his gimmick used to be, before he became a psychotic heel, that he was the all-American boy. Like, you know, amateur wrestling, all that stuff, WWF champion for 6 years. He could have come out and said, oh, how dare you disparage this great country, and, you know, just go on one of his Backlund rants.
Did he actually run for president?
Did he? I feel like he did. I feel like I heard those stories.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that would have been more logical than what we got. But no, we're doing this thing with Titus, which I want to like because I'm really behind Darren Young. I want this to succeed, and you're right. He does seem like he's getting over. But I just hope that Titus doesn't fucking kill it.
There's an example of a guy you could put against Roman and maybe get Roman cheered.
Who? Titus?
Titus.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Okay, no, he didn't run for president. He ran for a Connecticut seat in Congress.
Oh, okay. That still would have been amazing. I would have loved to have seen Bob Backlund go on a filibuster.
He ran as a Republican.
Ah, interesting. Not too surprising.
No.
And I wonder if by today's standards he would be considered a Democrat or a moderate or what. So, you know. But that's neither here nor there.
I don't think he splits those hairs. I think he is, just all about freedom. If I had to guess what his actual beliefs are, probably libertarian.
Yeah, hey, man, to each their own. And I will say, though, I love what Bob Backlund's been doing, and his night wasn't over, but we'll get to that a little later. So I guess we can agree you and I are both keeping an open mind about this?
Yeah, I definitely am keeping an open mind. And by the way, I'm actually looking even further into this, and yeah, it was kayfabe, but he did declare his candidacy for president of the United States.
That's amazing. I would have voted for him. Given the options that we have.
1995, and he had vignettes, and he was preaching socially conservative values, and campaigned on a beach, and he confronted a Bill Clinton impersonator, and oh God, I feel like you and I were both just so late to the party. I wish we could have been around for the 80s and 90s more.
Yeah, please tell me he put that Bill Clinton impersonator in the crossface chicken wing.
Probably.
Oh my, and you know what too? That one Darren Young vignette that he did have, where he's like, oh, you've got to make all your problems submit, that should have been his platform. I will put everything, including the national deficit, in the crossface chicken wing. Like, I kind of want to vote for Bob Backlund now. I think I'm doing it. I think I'm going to drive all the way up to a voting poll.
And you're going to write him in?
I'm going to write him, Bob Backlund, 1995. Invent a time machine, go back to 1995, and elect Bob Backlund. Yeah, that sounds
to be fair, the election happened in 96.
Damn. Well, then go back to 1996, stuff the ballot box for Bob Backlund, and then just watch history just completely kill itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would have gotten, Bill Clinton out of the White House sooner, and maybe Hillary wouldn't be running right now.
Maybe, fucking
rewrite history, people. Rewrite history.
But yeah, we'll see where this whole thing goes with Darren and Titus. Titus grabbing the tights, so much like Hillary, just cheating to get the win. And, and
That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the best socially conscious joke you will ever hear on TWitWoW.
Titus just being like, oh, talk to your coach. Talk to your guy. And you're like, Titus, you know what you did. You know what you don't be fronting.
Yeah.
You know what you did.
Yeah, well,
So,
and later on, we had the backstage segment with Backlund just screaming at Titus, "You don't cheat, you don't wear your morals," and all this stuff. And Titus is just like, "Bob, you better calm down, or I will knock your old ass out." And then, because anytime you go after Bob Backlund, it's Darren Young who takes it personally. DY just snaps and just kills Titus.
now, I will agree with Titus here. The elderly need to be kept in their place. So I was happy that he shut Bob Backlund down, because if there's nothing that I can't stand more, and yes, even more than Golden Truth, it's lippy elderly people. Like, you're on the way out. You've lived long enough. I really don't care for your opinions on today's issues when you created the mess in the first place. So I don't blame Titus.
Yeah, tell
for
that
shutting...
to Britain.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you see that it was like, I think it was like 70% of the Brexit voters who said leave were at least like 50 or above?
Yeah, I feel like, no, you know what? I'm not gonna say it. I'm already got one foot in the grave. I'm not gonna go any further tonight.
Oh, come on.
No, I was gonna say I think they're professional trolls because they know they're gonna die soon anyway, so they just want to fuck it up for everybody else. Like, oh, have fun, assholes! I'm gonna be busy listening to my arteries harden. But yeah,
Is that
like,
inflammation though?
I just really appreciate Titus pretty much telling Bob Backlund, "You're old. Shut your damn mouth. I don't give a shit." And I also appreciate Darren, though, for being the complete antithesis to me and, actually having a functioning moral compass. So, good stuff all around.
Yeah, so we had Stephanie McMahon gifting Mick Foley a brand new Raw brand tablet, and she's trying to catch him up on technology, and it's great. And then Sheamus shows up, and he's all angry and frustrated, and then Cesaro shows up, and he's all angry and frustrated, and next thing you know, problem solver Mick Foley sets up a match between these guys where whoever manages to impress them the most gets a future world. Well, she didn't say world, so it gets a future championship match.
Now, let's stop right there, and I'm glad you caught yourself, because that even, further necessitates this discussion. Where do you think this is going? Because he was deliberately ambiguous with championship. He didn't name which championship. So, where do you think this is going?
Well, I think that he's going to ask Cesaro to trim down to 205 pounds. Because he's just earned himself a cruiserweight championship match.
Are we gonna get Cesaro workout videos courtesy of Matt Hardy V1, like Tybo tapes or some shit?
If you work out, you're gonna get bulkier. He needs to wear a freaking trash bag and sit in the attic for a few hours.
And I think I even made I don't know what parallel I made to this feud, but I guess I can make it again, and maybe it'll be more apropos. It would be cool if this was like a John Morrison and, oddly enough, Sheamus, because he was part of that feud as well, kind of feud where what seemed like it was innocuous, because really it started out Sheamus was bullying Santino, and we end up with two guys competing to be number one contender for the WWE World title. That's how illegitimate a champion The Miz was at the time. Contenders can come out of nowhere.
Like Randy Orton.
Exactly. We'll get to him later. Oh my God, he was so good. But
what do you mean, John? This is Raw. He's a SmackDown superstar.
Oh, that's right. I see what you did there. But, yeah, it would be cool if Mick was like, oh, it's for the WWE Universal Championship, and Cesaro could finally break through, because I do see him winning that end. Or, because you guys all know me by now, I'm stubborn and I'm stupid, and I don't let go of things no matter how much the empirical evidence says otherwise. Roman Reigns could beat Rusev for the U.S. title, and it could be for a U.S. Championship match, and we could still get my Roman Reigns Cesaro program that I wanted for SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah. Hey, how about that? Or, pigs could fly.
Okay, I'm gonna do the healthy thing. I'm gonna internalize that. Okay?
I don't think internalizing is the healthy thing to do in these situations.
I'm gonna bury it until it just leaves so many scars on my large intestine it can't function properly. And I'm just gonna keep talking about the show. So,
okay, well, the show itself was pretty decent, but not as good as the burn I just pulled off on you.
Okay, the idea that you're reveling in the abuse that you've just inflicted, I think that's very telling. Not that I blame you. In fact, there's even a part of me that's kind of proud of you, which just shows you how fucked up I am, but that's
Yeah,
not
I was just gonna say, what's that name of that group that you associate yourself with now?
the Scum Squad. 4 life, except for AJ Styles because he doesn't know my existence and it really makes me die inside. But, we
Imagine how
have
Lee Clark feels knowing that.
yeah, probably. Shout out to Lee. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. I don't know. Maybe he thought it was a mixed bag too. You even had a joke on Twitter. And see, I really hate you sometimes because you could joke about something and I'm like, oh, Ashton's so funny. But then I think about it and I'm like, oh God, what if he's actually right? Because you tweeted about them getting a shot at the tag team titles. Like, what if Mick does do that? What if he puts them together? Because maybe Cesaro, he gets a win over Sheamus, but then maybe Sheamus gets a win over him, and then Mick's just like, you both impressed me so much, I can't decide. So you are going to be getting a championship match. You're going to be getting a tag team championship match against presumably the club at this point. And they totally break down, and it's the worst team ever. Like, what if they do?
Or since we've already had an FU of the week from John to Goldust and R-Truth, let's just continue copying Podswoggle segments and we'll do an internet stupid and I will fantasy book this. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, Cesaro backstage talking to Mick Foley. Foley seems a little apprehensive to give him a title shot, but then he says, all right, Cesaro, you get a tag title shot. You get to pick your partner. We get the New Day. They come out. Cesaro comes out. Guess who his partner is? It's Cassius Ohno back to reform the Kings of Wrestling. They win the tag titles. Batista, new world champ.
I fucking love it. Cut and print, baby. But yeah, dude, I mean, it's so funny because you tweeted that, and I know you meant it as a joke, but like, we live in an age where even though Raw does seem like it's finding its footing and it's being a good program, I can't lie, I enjoyed tonight's Raw. I never know when they're gonna slip back up and maybe do something like that. So they've really got to earn my trust. It's a marathon, not a sprint, for my rehabilitation as a viewer. And I would not be surprised if Mick was like, oh, well, I think you guys would be a pretty great team. No, Mick, that's the concussions you've accumulated over a very long career talking. Now sit down, give Cesaro his world championship match, and let's not speak of that faux pas that you had ever again. So, yeah, that's my fear. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah. But we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, I feel better. How about you?
Oh, I feel great.
So then we got Nia Jax squashing Ariel Monroe.
Yeah, who apparently was actually trained. I learned this on Twitter. I forget who tweeted it, so I apologize. No, Cedric Alexander, actually.
Ah, very nice.
So very unique, that she
gets
this
point, anytime I see a competent in-ring female worker, I just assume Storm Academy.
That's the right way to go.
Because he's killing it right now.
But yeah, and speaking of killing it, apparently Cedric Alexander is as well, because even though his student was only used in a squash, like, he has students, number one, and he's killing it in his own career.
Cedric Alexander at all of, 27 years old?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to actually look up how old is Cedric Alexander. Yeah, 26 years old, has students.
I feel like the saying, those who can't do, teach, Cedric Alexander just kind of looked at that and he's like, bitch, watch me. Yeah. And, he did.
¿Por qué no los dos? Why can't we have both? Why not?
Exactly. Look at you being all bilingual.
Don't you remember those old Taco Bell commercials?
No, and I wish
no, not Taco Bell. It was some kind of taco shell company. I don't know if it was like Ortega or Old El Paso or whatever, but it was a taco shell company or just a taco whatever company, and they had those stand-in stuffed tacos where it was like, well, if we do a soft shell taco, we can stuff it better, but then it doesn't crunch. And if we have a hard shell taco, it's a mess, but at least it crunches. And then they had these stand-in stuff where you could stand them up and you could put stuff in them and you didn't have to worry about the mess. And when they showed it, the little girl was just like, ¿Por qué no los dos? Because, why not both is what that stands for.
That I had no idea any of this was even a thing.
Are you serious? That's like a meme. That's amazing.
And quite frankly, the idea that you started to say Taco Bell, I mean, you caught yourself, but it was too late because now it had me thinking about Taco Bell. I don't have a Taco Bell anywhere near me, and now I'm depressed. So, yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. But, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. We'll see what happens.
It was Old El Paso. I found the freaking commercial if you want to see it.
Oh my god. I will. I will later. I will see that commercial. But yeah, I guess we can move on.
Okay. What were we just talking about?
Were we still talking about Sheamus and Cesaro?
No, it was Nia and Ariel Monroe.
Oh, no, actually, no. You know what? I had a question about Nia.
Yeah, I figured that. You're trying to move past things that you're not even done with.
Dude, we talk about tacos and like Scum Squad and like it's on me. It's on me.
Okay,
What do you
thanks,
think?
R-Truth.
What do you think of Nia's new finisher here? If it is a new finisher, like the fireman's carry
Okay.
into I guess like power slam or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you see, the problem, John, here is that I don't watch Nia Jax matches if I don't have to.
What?
And yeah, I didn't actually see the new finisher.
So really, we could have just moved on, and it wouldn't have been awkward at all because you didn't watch the match.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame you.
I'm really proud of you. I feel like you're finally starting to learn a little bit. So,
Hashtag Scum Squad.
hashtag Scum Squad for life. And I'm not going to do the joke again. You already heard it once. That was enough. But
That was enough. No more.
Nia Jax does get the win. Again, similar to Braun Strowman, doing these squash matches. And I will say, I want to like Nia a lot like you do with Reigns.
You sound really apprehensive about saying what you're about to say.
But I hate that her song's like, I'm not like most girls. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Don't fucking lie.
No, she's not though, John, because she's related to The Rock.
And there you go. I do feel like she can be a great heel, and admittedly, I did like, I should say, what she did in the post match, because Byron was like, "Oh well, Nia, how do you feel?" And she's like, "How do I feel?" And then she like takes it on the jobber, like another splash in the corner. Ask her how she feels, and then she walks out. And then Corey Graves, who, man, me and him need to start talking on Twitter or something. He's like, man, what I wouldn't give to see Nia Jax do that to Byron Saxton. Like, Byron Saxton is so bullied and so abused at that desk. And Corey Graves is the worst offender. I love what a piece of shit he is and how honestly he comes by it. Like, teach me, Corey. Teach me. So, yeah, that at least was good. But, yeah, just another typical squash match here for Nia Jax.
Yeah, Nia is. It's funny because her theme song says she's not like most girls who only take just what they're given, but she's been given a fairly exceptional amount that she hasn't really needed to work for, hasn't she?
Yeah, that's so true.
There's a buffet joke in there as well, but I won't stoop to that level.
Because you're better than that, damn it.
Well, might not be better than that, but I feel like this is a classier show than that.
You'd be right. Maybe only by a slim margin, but you'd be right. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about the squash match.
The whole reason I said that though is because of opportunities. Like she shows up, and within a year, even though she's clearly not actually ready for NXT TV, again, the old fallacy of NXT is developmental. The whole point is for people to get better. No, that's what the training facility at Full Sail University is for. NXT TV is for people to get better on television at their television skills, whether it's playing to the camera, in front of a crowd, etc. Getting good in the ring is something you do before you get to NXT TV, and they didn't make Nia do that. She got like below average to barely passable in the ring before they brought her up.
Yeah, but do you know who's already really good in the ring?
Pretty much most of the women except for her.
That's true, and I wasn't even going to name a woman. I was going to be like American Alpha, who's debuting tomorrow night. I'm sorry, but that's the only thing that really takes the taste out of my mouth, knowing that Nia Jax is probably going to be pushed to the moon again. Is that, yeah. And then two guys who should be pushed to the moon, they're on SmackDown with no discernible tag team fuck. But, yeah.
I feel like The Rock is the root of all problems in 2016 wrestling.
And he's not even in the business. Like...
Yeah, but like Roman, the Usos, Nia, even Eva Marie has the same agent as The Rock.
Oh my god. So by proxy, even then,
yeah,
The Rock is a problem. And I'm going to ease up on the Usos just a little bit, because at least they lost the Battleground pre-show to Breezango. Clearly their stock is down.
Yeah, it took how many years for that to happen, though?
But at least we got there. Can you honestly say at this rate we're even going to get there with Roman Reigns? I'm just grateful we got there.
dude, the thing is, the WWE writers see him winning the U.S. title as a demotion.
Poor fucking Rusev. I say it again. Poor Rusev.
Oh my god. It's funnier when you say it out loud, because it sounds kind of dumb in your head, and then you actually say it, and it's hilarious.
Listen to you.
Oh my god. I feel better, though. That little giggle fest helped.
I'm glad it did. Let's move on.
I might not cut my wrist tonight like I was planning on.
Wow, that just took a dark turn. And I say again, please let's move on to the next thing, because I really, I don't have anything else to
Please
say about
let's
Nia
move
Jax.
on before you say something else incriminating.
Exactly.
Tom Phillips interviewed Sami Zayn, and because Nia Jax was just on the television, I wasn't actually paying attention. So, John, if you could cover this.
Sami Zayn pretty much saying, me and Seth, we faced each other many times before all over the world, and, he's got one big weakness, and that's his mouth. And I think Sami more or less said, tonight I'm going to go out, I'm going to prove myself, I'm going to beat Seth Rollins, all the typical stuff from the underdog, from the underground, who, just, he's really hitting his stride. So that's all I can really say about that.
So that's it?
That's it. We can move on.
Okay, so then we had the New Day picking fruits out of a bag, and Kofi and Big E get small orange-looking fruit. I'm guessing tangerines. You think that's right, John?
Probably.
And then Xavier gets a small, rotten-looking banana.
Yeah. And so, Xavier Woods drew the short straw, or I guess in this case, banana. He's not going to be a part of the tag match. They do cut a promo to start. I honestly don't remember too much from it. But, they get the crowd hyped up. They end with New Day Rocks. And then Anderson and Gallows come out. I think we're going to have a really competitive match with Anderson and Gallows going over. None of that happened at all. Not the competitive aspect, not the club going over.
I feel like you should be angrier right now, but you're very calm for someone who's got such a bone to pick with what happened.
I mean, again, it was a nitpick, and it really I didn't even have to do any of the guys specifically, because I love everybody involved. It was the booking. I hate when WWE books themselves into a corner. And Lucha Underground can do it, but I think they almost do it at this point to show off. Like, oh, you may think we put ourselves into a corner, but we're, what's that word? Oh, yeah, intelligent. And we're going to get out of it with finesse. Whereas WWE, it's like, well, gee, this is quite a pickle. What do we do? Oh, I know. Bulldoze everything. And they have the club lose in like 2 minutes. I mean, clearly they really, art imitates life, I guess, because they looked at Shibata Yano from earlier today. They're like,
dude, I wonder if that was a last minute addition to just parallel G1 today.
I know. It's like, man, this guy really seems like a badass, and he got rolled up pretty quickly. Certainly we can still have the club save face, or I guess more appropriately, heel heat, by, eating the quick pin. And, they rolled the dice. I'm not saying they came up on the losing end. I just don't like booking like this.
You're just saying that you feel like they lost.
Yeah, me personally, I don't like booking like this, and I've made that, crystal clear.
Yeah, and you were even clear about that in G1 when you basically gave up on Shibata's career.
Yeah, I laughed at him so hard today, though. That felt so good. Oh, man.
He's gonna kick your head off if he ever meets you.
Yeah, he's not, though. He's not. And believe me, if he blundered this quickly against Yano, maybe I would have a good chance to survive, because, man, did he get bitched out something fierce.
But the difference is Yano survived 3, corner toss, big boots, a flurry of forearms, and then a delayed drop kick, and then a half Nelson suplex before being able to do the shenanigans. I don't think you'd get there.
You're probably right, but this isn't about me, for once.
I made it about you.
I will say, though, somebody else that got bitched out, or I should say some other group that got bitched out, the New Day, because they got totally picked apart in the post-match. The club totally beat them down.
Okay, just to be clear here, who got bitched out?
The New Day. That's what I'm saying, in the post-match.
I thought you said that Anderson and Gallows got bitched out.
Well, I mean, originally with the pin, but I'm saying in the post-match, then they got bitched out because Anderson and Gallows really beat them down.
So then who really got bitched out at the end of the day?
I'd still say the club, because they got beat in like 2 or 3 minutes by the same guys whose titles they're aspiring for. So I'd still say they got the shorter stick, But, New Day didn't have an easy night.
And I'll add, they beat the New Day up after the match 2-on-3.
Yes.
With the man disadvantage.
Yes.
So now really, who got bitched out?
Maybe the New Day. That I think at that point becomes a matter of perspective. You look at proportionality, who came out.
Is that even a word?
Damn right it is.
Proportionality. You're making shit up at this point.
You're asking me if it's a word? Look in a mirror, son. Jesus. But Big E was the biggest victim here because he's no longer going to be able to gyrate, at least not without an ice pack strapped to his yam bags, because he got pulled into the ring post. And yeah, not only did he have to do some ball counting, but he just became an exceptional singer a few bars higher than he was coming into this match.
Yeah, he's got a few lumps in his throat now that he pees out of.
Yeah, just a little bit.
That's where his dick and balls are now.
Exactly.
Just knocked up through his body, past the intestines and vital organs, right into the throat.
Exactly.
That I never want to ever experience that in my life. Funny enough, when I was in the first grade, I got kicked in the balls for the first time. That wasn't fun.
I think you told me that. Sorry. But anyway.
I still remember that kid's name to this day. I won't say it because, he doesn't deserve it, but...
Or you don't want him to, know that his name's been spoken, track you down, and then make you relive your childhood all over again.
No, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing him in high school, and given the size difference, I'm pretty sure I would destroy him if it came down to a fist fight. But this is why I'm not mentioning his name, because it's not gonna happen. There's not gonna have to be a fist fight.
So just to clarify though, since we've already went down this rabbit hole and we have to see it through. When you saw him in high school, you didn't instinctively just seeing him in PTSD shield your balls. That didn't happen.
No, because first of all, I don't hold grudges. Second of all, I doubt he even remembers me.
Right.
And third of all, I'm non-confrontational.
So you share that quality with basketballs. Then you don't hold grudges, and you completely overcame that trauma. That's commendable.
Yeah.
I
did. I managed somehow or another. I overcame the demons that were put on me as a little 6-year-old boy who's still developing.
All right.
I did it.
Yeah, good
Are
shit.
you proud of me, John?
That's a stretch, but I'm definitely feeling something.
Wow!
Yeah,
Wow! Wow!
We'll be all right.
That's my line.
That's my line. And so yeah, that was this segment. Let's. Do you have anything?
You're not transitioning out of this.
Yes, I am.
There's no loud, obnoxious thing to play along and then moving on. No, it's not happening.
No, yes, it is.
No, it's not, John. You're gonna tell me you're proud of me. God damn it!
No, I'm not. And I think that's revealing of a deeper complex that apparently you haven't overcome.
I proved that I was the bigger person. You be proud of me.
No, I think you need to calm down right now, and I think we need to move on.
I'm perfectly calm. I don't know what you're talking about. I am relaxed. I am chilling out on my sofa. I've got my computer pulled up on proportionality because I still didn't believe you, so I Googled it.
Was I right?
Yeah, of course you were right. What the hell do you think?
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to hear you say it. So, yeah, let's move on.
So, as you said, like basketballs...
You don't hold grudges.
Exactly.
You overcame your trauma, and I even said, I commend you for that.
I was supposed to be Batista's friend.
Maybe.
And quite frankly, if I could be, I probably would be, because Batista's awesome.
You're right. You're right on all counts. So I really don't see what needs to be said here.
Now we can move on.
There you go. Let's move on.
Up next, Cesaro versus Sheamus.
What'd you think about this match?
I guess it was all right. These guys always put on good matches, but they also always put on matches that I forget about immediately.
See, I think the key with Cesaro and Sheamus, and I mean this as a compliment, I really do.
Physical.
Yes, you're not even wrong.
If they don't have a reason to hate each other, I don't have a reason to care about this match.
You're absolutely right, and I wasn't even going to say that, so kudos to you for inserting a legitimate point in there. I think you got to give them really time to let the match breathe. You're not going to get that kind of time on a 3-hour show like Raw anyway. That's TV.
I guess I misread you there.
No, you're not wrong though. I'm glad you brought that up.
I feel wrong.
But you're not wrong. It's okay.
Is it not my fault?
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh my God.
I never
you
like
are giving me nothing to work with.
Look, I never want to fully absolve you of anything because then you might not have a complex and I don't want you to get rusty. So, we have these two.
You're not talking about my complex in public, John. Jesus.
I think I just kind of did, and we'll let the comment section sort itself out. We have Cesaro win the end of the match with the neutralizer. And so you'd think that's going to get him a title match, but then there's a brawl that breaks out in the post-match. So what I want to see happen here, since Foley already made allusions to championship matches, their match at SummerSlam, to me, because I do think they're going to have a rematch at SummerSlam, needs to be a number one contendership match for something. US, Universal, whatever. In fact, it'd be really cool if it was the Universal because it shows that they're thinking about their world title 3 steps ahead. Like, we're crowning our first champion, but already in the same night, we already have our next number one contender. That would be cool to me. But regardless, I do think it needs to be a number one contendership match of some type. What do you think about that? Do you have a dissenting opinion to that view? Do you agree? What do you think they should do with these two here?
I can agree with that.
Yeah, because really at this point, Foley kind of put it out there. Now live up to your fucking promises and award one of these guys something.
Dude,
so.
You know what I could, and I was actually thinking about this earlier when we were talking about the initial segment with them in the office. How funny would it be if, just to really play into exactly what Cesaro was saying on the network, he comes up to Foley next week and he's just like, all right, Mick, I won the match last week. What title am I getting a shot at? And Mick Foley's just like, what are you talking about? You're not getting a title shot. That's it. And then Cesaro's just like, you said last week that whoever impressed you most would get a title shot. And then Mick's just like, oh yeah, I said that, but I talked to Steph and she said that we can't actually just be handing out title shots like that because it devalues the title. So sorry, Cesaro, but get out there and put on another good match. I know you can.
Which would be an excellent troll of the internet, Marks, because that would be the proceeding week from Mark Henry being handed a U.S. championship match.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. You see, now that I can tell you, I am proud of you. That's genius. That's really good. Because that's how you work people up. That's how you...
I'm validated!
Revel in it. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to revel in it starting now.
I'm not actually going to revel in it, John. Let's move on.
Okay. But yeah, the Cesaro section is growing. Cesaro has openly acknowledged them in interviews and stuff. What a way to really embolden them and get them angry and like all that stuff than being like, oh, we don't do that. That devalues championships. I love it. I kind of hope they do that. And I'm
embiggen them.
Yeah, there you go.
Embiggen is a perfectly cromulent word, right, John?
Look at you stepping up your game. I almost
using words that don't exist.
Wow. I actually felt like the second word you used, I actually thought that was a thing.
Cromulent? It's a made-up word from The Simpsons.
I knew I heard it somewhere, though. I fucking knew I heard that word somewhere.
The original line was, a noble spirit embiggens the smallest man, and then he said it's a perfectly cromulent word. But both of those lines, embiggens and cromulent, are not words.
It's so funny that you mentioned The Simpsons, because I know we were talking about presidential candidates earlier, and it was the two aliens that were like, oh, what are you going to do? It's a two-party system. You have to vote for one of us. And then the crowd was all murmuring, they're right, it's a two-party system. And like all worried. And then this guy speaks up, oh, I think I'll vote for a third-party candidate. Go ahead. Throw your vote away. And then they just start evilly laughing because they know Springfield's fucked. Oh, Simpsons, when you used to be good.
Oh, South Park, I can't wait for you. You can't get back soon enough. We need
I know, right?
Commentary now more than ever.
Garrison is so winning the presidency.
Dude, I'm not even joking when I tell you, I think that one episode of South Park where Donald Trump's sort of Canadian stand-in wins the presidency, I legitimately think that episode might have been part of the reason that Trump won the Republican candidacy in the first place. That popularity, I mean.
Right.
And the whole PC police thing, I think that has a lot to do with why Trump is the Republican candidate.
And, I know Matt and Trey probably didn't mean for that to happen, because I know they're libertarians, at least from what I've heard.
Well,
But
that's the thing, though. Being libertarian aligns a lot more with what Trump says than what with Hillary.
right, yeah.
You know, it's more of a conservative kind of mindset than liberal.
Oh my God, they might have actually started a problem that they actually wanted to prevent. That's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, because like I feel like, and now obviously I try not to generalize, but here I go being a hypocrite. In general, I do feel like a lot of Trump supporters, a big reason why they're behind him is because he has already spoken out against SJWs and politically correct language.
Right.
The PC police on South Park was meant to be a jab at that, but what they might not have realized was they sort of stirred up those people who hate SJWs and PC, culture and that kind of stuff, and that might have actually gotten them so, enraged at the system, quote unquote, that led them to vote Trump.
Yeah, I have to say you're absolutely right. So, on that note, they definitely stirred that base up. Sheamus probably stirred something up. He didn't want to start with Cesaro by attacking him after the match because he's a sore
That's
loser.
right. There was a brawl after the match. Nice transition, by the way.
Thank you. And yeah, it seems like this is going to be a continuing program, which is why I said to start this segment, I want to see a number one contenders match at SummerSlam between Cesaro and Sheamus. Plus, and I will say this too, if it is for the WWE Universal Championship, which I wholly acknowledge is wishful thinking, it's probably going to be for the U.S. Championship if I had to guess. But if it's for the Universal Championship, that sets a great tone because it's not the usual suspects in the title picture. Maybe you could argue Sheamus is the usual suspect because he's been there 4 times already, but knowing that Cesaro's in that scene finally would probably get a lot of people amped up. So I'm hoping it's for their world title, but I do think it's going to be U.S., which I'd still be cool with because, again, my Roman Reigns-Cesaro feud.
So do you think that this is going to end up leading to a Roman Reigns-Cesaro feud for number one contendership? Or do you think Roman's going to win the title first and then Cesaro's going to get his shot?
I think Roman's going to win the title first, personally.
Okay. I've got to cut you off.
Okay.
Why are they putting Roman against Rusev, trying to get Roman over as a heel in the mid-card, only to turn around and say, okay, Roman, now go against an internet darling?
Don't you mean, first of all, getting Roman over as a face in the mid-card? I just want to make sure that you said everything exactly right so I could respond.
What did I say?
You said Roman as a heel in the mid-card.
I meant face, yeah, sorry.
I think you had a Freudian slip there. I think what you wanted...
I said what I wanted to happen rather than what's actually happening.
Exactly. I can definitely see your point there, and I don't know. Maybe, and see at the same time, that does bring up a concern. If they do that feud, Roman and Cesaro, is Cesaro going to have to turn heel? And we already know the results of that from last time. And you don't want to spit in the face of the Cesaro section. Please, WWE, do not be that stupid.
You're funny. You don't think they'll be that stupid. Adorable.
Exactly. So, I don't know what's going to come of it. But again, I hope either we get the feud and they go all in, Roman Reigns, Cesaro, championship in the balance, or we forego that altogether and we just finally get Cesaro in that main event scene fucking finally, and he has a program with either Finn Balor or Seth Rollins. You can't freaking lose at that point because it's going to be amazing matches regardless. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But again, number one contendership match, Sheamus, Cesaro, SummerSlam. Please make it happen, and we'll see.
Okay.
So what came after this?
Up after this was Heath Slater, because he actually was in the ring while Sheamus and Cesaro were still brawling.
Right.
He's all excited and hyped up, and he's calling himself the hottest free agent in sports entertainment. And he had Jinder Mahal with him, and he called him his best friend. And it was a 2MB, baby! And then Mick Foley came out and put a contract on the line, and you don't hinder Jinder. And that is exactly what Heath was trying to do here, but Jinder beat him.
Yeah, with a big boot.
Heath Slater, I mean, you talked about the New Day and then Gallows and Anderson getting bitched out. Heath Slater got bitched out.
Oh, yeah, majorly.
Yeah.
His friend turned on him all for the sake of a job, which really shows you the true faults of our current economic system when friendships are willing to be compromised.
Slater did the job so Jinder could get the job.
Oh, snap. Gotta ask, what do you see? I mean, and you could just be like nothing at all, and I would accept that as a legitimate answer.
Oh,
Do you see Jinder doing anything at all? Like, or
no,
just like
no.
a
I mean, dude, here's the thing: they signed him, but I don't know what that means.
right,
It could just mean that they needed a heel jobber who's not going to get over, unlike Heath Slater.
right,
Because that's what Heath Slater was, but now he's over, so you can't just have him jobbing all the time. Because then he'll get, like, Daniel Bryan over.
right.
So, yeah, maybe that's why they brought Jinder in. I don't know. Maybe
Uh,
maybe they know he has a history of working well with Seth Rollins, and they want to push him.
that could be. Shifting the conversation to more interesting territory. I mean, no offense to Jinder, but he's kind of a question mark right now. I don't know what their plans are for him.
Yeah.
What do you envision? And you could even fantasy book if you want, but what do you envision as the whole payoff with this Heath Slater storyline? Like he's not signed anywhere, so he can go anywhere. Do you think he's just
Um,
going to keep going place to
I'm
place?
still waiting for the one-man brand, baby.
Oh yeah, yeah. You did mention that to me in conversation.
He just, like, randomly shows up in the parking lot, and then the camera crew goes out there, and they're just like, Heath, why are you here? You weren't allowed in the building. Why are you hanging around out here? This is loitering.
Right.
And he's just like, because I'm the one man brand, baby. And maybe he's like tailgating, like he has a grill out and he's got like a cook apron and a chef's hat on and he's cooking for people and handing out brats and stuff.
Right, right.
He's the one man brand. He's entertaining. He's keeping these people fed and all that stuff. And then the police show up and ruin everyone's day, like, so many times in the past.
Right, right. Yeah, that could work. I'm actually interested in this storyline. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not even trying to say that with any kind of salt or anything. Like, I'm curious what they're going to do with Heath because he cut such a great promo on SmackDown last Tuesday. And then tonight on Raw, I enjoyed what he did here, too. Like, he brought in Jinder thinking that was going to be muscle. Oh, well, with two people, we'll definitely make some noise. And then Jinder turns on him. So there's got to be some kind of payoff here. I think whatever match Heath Slater finally gets a win in, or when he finally gets the upper hand in some situation, whatever show he does that on, that's the show he's going to be a roster member of. So, like, if he wins a SmackDown match, we can pretty much assure, at least I would think, that he's going to be a member of the SmackDown roster. Same way with Raw. It's just, the win's got to come first. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm actually invested in this storyline. And the only hesitation I have about it is that, it's not Lucha Underground directing it. Because with Lucha Underground's undercard storylines, the one I was most interested in there was Famous B. And I felt like that had a very satisfying payoff. With Heath, there's no such guarantees, but he's a talented guy, and I hope it goes his way. So we'll see.
He's got something going on right now, which is a lot more than, I don't know, Zack Ryder can say.
I know, right? Such a tragedy, of course. Anything else you want to say about this?
No, I don't think so. It was whatever, I like what Heath Slater's doing, but this whole Jinder thing, I don't really care about Jinder Mahal, so I couldn't really get too excited about this. However, what I was so happy about, Tom Phillips interviewed Chris Jericho.
Yes.
Jericho, first thing he does is start making fun of Enzo and Cass, and talking about how Enzo always is flying around Cass, and Cass gets to stand up for him and stuff like that, and he's got someone watching his back too. And I love here because Phillips is just like, oh, who's watching your back, Chris? And he goes, Jim. Jim? Yeah, Jimmy Marvin Luter. Jimmy Marvin Luter. Jimmy Marvin Luter. Yeah, you never heard of Jimmy Marvin Luter? He's a famous shot putter. He won the Olympics.
I love it.
Chris Jericho making things up on the spot is my new favorite thing.
Yes, and do
this
you know
is
what?
Like Appleton, the Big Apple, like that whole thing. It was just so good.
And do you know what my new favorite thing is alongside this? Kevin Owens just being brutally honest, and maybe not even honest, but direct. Because last week in the Fatal 4-Ways, and in the two Fatal 4-Way matches and the one that Kevin Owens was in, he had line of the night to me that night that had me dying when Rusev went for a pin attempt right in front of Owens Owens broke it up, looked right at Rusev, and he's like, dude, I'm right here. And then tonight, he looks at Jericho and he's like, you made that up. That person isn't real. You made that up. But don't worry about it because I'm going to watch your back. And I just love how direct and to the point Kevin Owens is. Like, if that's going to be a new thing for him, I'm behind it because it's fucking hilarious. And working with Jericho, people, and I know members of Puitov really wanted it. I think a lot of people on Twitter really wanted it. We're finally going to get, at least for this program against Enzo and Cass, Jericho and Owens as a tag team. I love these two together. I think they're comic gold. And honestly, this is a makeshift tag team I wouldn't mind seeing get a tag title run. They're that good to me, and I'm that entertained by them. But what do you think about this program, bro? Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I definitely am. I mean, it's funny because literally earlier on in the night, before we cut to commercial, before we even knew Kevin Owens was going to be on commentary, I told you, oh my God, Jericho and Enzo on the mic together are amazing. I want Jericho to get a partner to go against Enzo and Cass, maybe even Kevin Owens.
Right.
And then we went to commercial and we came back and you were like, oh, it's funny you bring up Kevin Owens, Ashton, because he's actually on commentary for this. And I was just like, oh, how about that? And now we get this, and it's happening, and I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, man, absolutely. This is going to be so good. And you know what? This is great for Enzo and Cass because they're going to mix it up now. One of them and Chris Jericho, multi-time world champion, multi-time intercontinental champion. And then you've got Kevin Owens, NXT champion, intercontinental champion, beat John Cena on his first night. Like, both guys on that end are stacked. And they actually do legitimately work well together when they're on the same page. In fact, Jericho was the one in this scenario to actually kind of plunge the knife because Kevin Owens once said, oh, I think we have a good thing going. And Jericho's like, oh, I can't stand you either. So, ow, hurtful. But I think this should be a really fun tag team program. These guys could actually steal the show unsuspectingly at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Like, I have that much faith in these guys. I'm so excited.
I mean, I don't know how unexpected that would be.
I mean, given that we have Balor, Rollins on the card, Lesnar, Orton.
Yeah.
People may be kind of thinking, oh, it's a fun tag match with 4 really great guys, but it's a tag team match, they might say.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like Jericho would have been better off with his original tag partner.
Which was?
Jimmy Marvin Luther.
Jimmy Marvin Luther. Yep, greatest of all time. Greatest of all time. Even greater than Braden Walker. So, yeah.
Can I show you something while we're on the air that no one else can actually see, even though you're going to be able to react to it?
Okay, this would be a first. All right.
Oh, this is amazing.
All right, people, let's see the special surprise inside. Oh, my God. Oh, Canadians. Make America A again. Jericho, Marvin Luther 2016. This message brought to you by stupid idiots. I hope Jericho sees this. I hope like a shit ton of people tweeted it out at him because he was bound to acknowledge it at some point. So, that's great.
Yeah.
But, anything else you want to say about this?
No, I don't think so. This was great. This was my favorite interview style talking segment of the night. Chris Jericho in 2016 at like 44, 45-ish years old is better than he's ever been.
Yeah, freaking loving Jericho right now for sure.
And if you don't believe that he can still go in the ring, you really don't need to look far. Beast in the East last year against Neville.
Yeah, definitely.
You put him in the ring with someone that can go, and he can keep right the hell up with him.
Definitely. So, with that said, I guess we can move on. What came after this?
The main event of the evening, Seth Rollins versus Sami Zayn.
Good match.
By the way, we're over 2 hours.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Good match between these two. And you know what? I like the logic here, at least by commentary and elsewhere. Sami Zayn got this spot because he's similar to Balor. So their logic is, this is a great way for Seth to prepare for Finn Balor, going against Sami Zayn. And these guys went out there.
Yeah, I've got to ask, though, how exactly is Sami Zayn at all similar to Balor?
You'd have to ask them. Because, I don't necessarily... maybe in stature.
Is it just because he's a cruiserweight and was an NXT champion at one point?
Maybe, but that seems like a really flimsy excuse. Oh, who am I kidding? That's exactly what WWE would employ.
Yeah.
So probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, solid matchup. Sammy had believable offense. I mean, he had a great spot where he got that tornado DDT where he gets like the arm assist of his opponent and stuff. And it looks like he's going to get the haluva kick, but Seth Rollins gets right out of the way. And yeah, great back and forth match. And it's a match that does Sammy a worthwhile service because even though he lost, he was staying in the fight with Seth Rollins. And I'll tell you, whether Seth or Finn, if you keep building up Sammy properly, and it was good to see him lose, especially with your criticisms of late, partner, that he's been winning too much lately, you could really make Sammy a contender for that Universal Championship. Quite easily, I might add, with how over he is. So that's great, because yeah, if Seth wins, you could always return to this matchup as an actual program. But Seth does get the win with the pedigree, and he's like, that's how you take care of business. And that's how we ended that match. So yeah, fun match indeed.
Absolutely.
All right. Do you have anything you want to say about this, or can we move on?
I think that up next we had our final segment. Yeah. Heyman comes out and introduces Brock Lesnar, and Brock being paid millions of dollars to stand there in the ring with a front row ticket to a Paul Heyman promo.
Yeah. I mean, can we say luckiest bastard on earth? I think I can. Um, I'll tell you, since I really talked about Sammy and Seth, what did you think of this promo and really just this whole segment in general?
Oh, well, I mean, here's the thing, dude. The segment itself was okay. It was, I mean, Paul Heyman cutting a promo anytime is going to be good.
Right, right.
But the climax is what, got to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, man. I see what you're saying.
Did the thing.
He did the thing. Yeah. Because Paul Heyman, talking tough, thinking, nobody can hurt me right now, says to Randy Orton, you're not man enough to hit the RKO on Brock Lesnar. You're not even going to be able to be man enough to set him up for the RKO. And what happens, partner?
RKO out of nowhere!
Exactly.
I wanted to have that little pause in there just to get that little extra anticipation in there because it's an RKO out of nowhere. It has to be surprising.
I understand. I got a little worried that maybe something happened on our end here, but I'm glad you responded when you did. Yeah, shut Heyman clean up. Like, he had the shut look on his face, like, whoa, why my beast? Why would you do this to my beast? And yeah, Randy, it was fucking great. Like, just dropped Lesnar, kind of looked at him, sending a message like, oh, I'm going to do that again. Add SummerSlam. And then he goes to the crowd, when Stephanie and Mick come out and the Raw locker room empties out. Now, a question that I've been wanting to talk to you about, because it hit me immediately after this ended. Is there going to be a retaliation tomorrow night on SmackDown to help boost SmackDown's ratings? Is Brock...
Are you seriously asking if Brock's going to work 2 nights in a row?
well, I mean, not necessarily even Brock, but do you think there's going to be a Raw person show up on SmackDown?
Oh, okay. That's a much more reasonable question. No.
Yeah, I really didn't mean to make you laugh that hard, but yeah.
I don't think so. I'm sorry, but just the idea that I know now I understand that that's not exactly what you were asking, but the idea that someone would ask if Brock would retaliate on a show he doesn't even belong to the roster of. Whew, wow, that was hilarious for the brief moment that I thought you said what I thought you said. But no, I don't think there's going to be any retaliation in the form of a Raw superstar showing up on SmackDown.
You think it's too early to be doing stuff like this turf warfare, or do you think, the sooner
I don't think
the better?
they're going to treat it like a turf warfare. I think it's just a one-time thing. Maybe we'll get like Stephanie or Mick showing up in a backstage segment for SmackDown to just talk to Daniel Bryan and be like, hey, and Shane and be like, hey, it's kind of not cool that you sent Randy Orton over to Raw to attack Brock Lesnar. And they could be like, wait, we didn't send him. Randy, we told him he shouldn't do that, and he acted of his own accord. He's to blame, not us. And we could have the blame game kind of hit and played there. But I don't think that we're going to get anybody actually showing up on SmackDown. But I will say, if it does happen, it's a nice little reason to watch next week.
Certainly. And I could just see it.
And to answer your question, yeah, it would be way too early for that kind of stuff to be happening already. But maybe that's their way of building up a potential Survivor Series match, since we don't really we've not had one of those like Raw versus SmackDown big like 5-on-5 elimination matches in years.
Right, it has been a long time for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I would certainly approve. I think it could be a fun time. So we'll see. But yeah, Orton just laying Lesnar out, I thought was freaking great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You thoroughly enjoyed it. Everybody seemed to thoroughly enjoy it, so I think it accomplished its goal. And now, the question is, who is going to emerge victorious at SummerSlam? We'll get to SummerSlam preview predictions. I already still kind of feel like, yeah, Brock's totally winning, but we'll see what WWE has in store on that front.
Yeah, man. Brock is not showing up until SummerSlam.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, this is a guy that doesn't work many dates to begin with, and he's just going to be home on his farm counting his money until SummerSlam, which, hey, to each their own. Brock's a smart negotiator. I can't take the piss out of him for that.
Yep.
So it is what it is. And yeah, just really enjoyed how Raw ended and Orton just posing amidst the crowd. And, maybe it's just me kind of imposing these feelings, but I would like to believe that Randy Orton really missed this, and he's got like this good vibe about being a babyface, at least for right now. Because I know he's always preferred historically to be a heel, but I think he's got to enjoy this just a little bit. So it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's this sort of dynamic where Orton is kind of in this role where not only does he play a character who just kind of has this air of don't give a shit about him, but it seems like Randy Orton, the person, is actually putting effort into this work and actually trying to make it entertaining, which isn't something that we're always guaranteed, because he does, in the past, he has had a tendency to phone it in a lot and just kind of go through the motions, but it seems like he's really, really actually putting in the effort here, and that's something to be appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. And you took the words right out of my mouth. I certainly appreciate it from Orton if that is the case.
Yeah.
And I'm still, like, this dream match that you and I have been waiting for forever. It really does seem to be paying off right now. And, like, I'm enjoying the ride, brother. It's a good time.
Absolutely.
So, with that said, do you have anything else you want to say about this segment?
No, man. Let's close it on out.
Oh, man. All right. Getting into the final few segments here. Next segment, high spots and low shots.
This has been a freaking marathon, brother.
You're damn right it has.
It's funny because like we almost we always, just kind of like a peek behind the curtain here, we always try and keep TWitWoW under 10 minutes, and we were right up against that today at 9:29.
Right.
So yeah, it's just an episode of Raw that had a lot going on.
My low shot, just going to be, very direct about it. I'm going to say that my low shot is the club, because even though they assaulted the champions out of the match, like, the kayfabe was you want to get victories. You want to seem like that credible threat to titles. And, the club, they lost in, I think, like 3 minutes. And I'm not even being hyperbolic there. It was a very quick match. So, yeah, they're my low shot, even though they did kind of regain some of their heat with the beatdown after the fact.
Yeah.
Who's your low shot?
Honestly, I'm just, this isn't actually my low shot, but just talking to you, I'm surprised you didn't make like the U.S. Championship in general your low shot, because of how poorly that's been treated in recent memory.
Oh, yeah, and you're not even wrong. I really do wish the treatment was better. But, I don't know, I just thought to go with a performer, and that's what we got, so.
Honorary low shot's going to have to go to Darren Young, because he just kind of came back, and this whole Darren Young great thing, and Titus said, you've never been great, and then beat him anyway. And that's, if you're Darren Young, you've got to feel a little bit kind of shook by that,
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from there.
That said, though, I don't think anyone had a worse night tonight than Goldust.
Yeah.
He is my low shot, and it is definitive. Not only do you get abandoned by your partner, but you get abandoned by your partner for something you showed him, and then you pick up a loss to the Shining Stars just 'cause. They didn't hit a finisher on you. They just rolled you up, and it seems like you just kind of gave up on life and just accepted your fate and got the 3 count taken.
I wish that's what happened. But clearly he hasn't given up on life because he was still trying to talk to Truth
And,
out of the match.
and then afterwards you kind of conceded that you don't deserve better because you continue to ally with Truth.
Yes. Yes, and that's definitely a fine cherry on top of my rant Sunday that I had earlier when we were actually talking about this segment, so I wholeheartedly agree with your low shot. My high spot, you know something, for the moment, I'm going to say that my high spot's Cesaro, because even though we don't know where this was leading, Foley said, hey, whoever impresses me more, between you and Sheamus gets a future championship match. We don't know what championship. We don't even know what qualifies as impressive to Mick Foley. But Cesaro did beat Sheamus with those stakes, in his mind. So I don't know what the gold at the end of the rainbow is for Cesaro, but he's chasing it with a lot more gusto and everything else than Sheamus is right now. So Cesaro's my high spot.
Yeah, my high spot, my honorary high spot is going to go to Seth Rollins because he cut a really good promo tonight and he won against Sami Zayn. So that's, good on you, Seth. I'm acknowledging that you did a great job tonight.
Right.
Actual high spot, though, I really can't think of anyone better. Chris Jericho. Not only did your team win thanks to Charlotte, admittedly, but you got your last laugh in too when you hit your code breaker on Enzo. And not only that, but then when you were desperately thinking, trying to imagine, even making up a name to try and figure out who would have your back, the greatness that is Kevin Owens shows up and graces you with his backup.
I completely agree with you on
so
all
not
counts.
not only did he win a match, but he realized he actually has a friend in this world and cut a hilarious promo all in the process. So yeah, Chris Jericho, you're my high spot. Embrace it, and if I may say so myself, drink it in, man.
Oh my god. But I completely agree. Yeah, totally spot on high spot. I love it. With that said, let's move on to our next segment, Raw Request.
Did you go as far as to say that I was high spot on?
Yes. I'm going to give you that one. I'm going to give you that one
I
because...
will take it and move on because I don't want you to change your mind. So what's your Raw request?
That's smart. Raw Request...
It's like they said in Moneyball. When you get the answer you want, hang up.
There you go. Raw Request, I definitely want follow-up on this Cesaro Sheamus thing. And by follow-up, I would like next week a segment where Cesaro, maybe he does exactly what you said, Ashton, goes into Mick's office, except the only difference, because as much as I would love the trolling for Cesaro's babyface momentum, I would want Cesaro to try and get to the bottom of it, be like, Mick, what did you mean by championship match? What am I competing for tonight? And then maybe before Mick can even answer, Sheamus comes in and says, that's a bunch of crap. I know I can beat you. I know I'm better than this. And then, maybe we do get that SummerSlam match. I just want development on what championship means, because there was a lot of ambiguity tonight. So I think my request is for that particular storyline, I want that ambiguity dispelled within, the first 2 hours. So, yeah, that's my request.
Okay.
What's your Raw request?
Well, we know we're not going to get Brock again next week, so I can't request that.
Right.
My Raw request is to continue to use your old timers, specifically in this episode referring to Golden Truth and Mark Henry and those kind of guys, and even Jericho to a degree. Continue to use your old timers in a productive but not prominent way.
I like that. That's actually
I like the way the old timers were used tonight. I liked that Jericho was in a tag team with a younger star, or with a younger female star, and going against two younger stars in Enzo and Sasha, and then teams up with Kevin Owens, who's another budding star who could be a main eventer. I liked that you used Golden Truth in sort of a way that A, gets the Shining Stars over, and B, is at least entertaining to a degree with the comedy stuff. I really, really like the way that Mark Henry was used tonight, and I would love to see him continue to be used this way, even if he does pick up a few wins over the way, way, way lower card guys, just to get built up so that his, him losing a match actually means something again.
Right.
But I just like the way that they were used, and I think that we've already been talking about, we're already talking about how are they going to use Big Show, and hopefully it's got something to do with Strowman, but if it doesn't, just use him in a way that is productive but not prominent. We don't want any of these old-timers to be the focus of the show Although, admittedly, I could probably deal with Jericho being the focus of the show if you had to pick one. But we don't want them to be the focus of the show, but we do want them to be in the show. We don't hate them. We just don't want them to be what the show revolves around, you know?
I think that was a very well articulated Raw request. I like that. And
Yeah,
I will
I was
readily
actually giving the WWE credit too. I wasn't shitting on them.
Exactly. Yeah, very nice. Very nice, dude. All right. And now it's all on me because our last segment, 30-second hot seat. What do you got for me?
Well, we're doing some interesting stuff with Braun Strowman, but we already talked about how he was going to end up probably with Big Show. So let me do this. Do you foresee the club defeating the New Day for the tag team titles? And then we're going to branch off here because there's going to be a yes or a no, and it's going to be like an if. If you do, who do you think will be the first team to challenge the club after they get past the New Day? But if not, if you think New Day is going to retain and the club is not going to win the titles off of them, who do you think that the New Day's opponents will be that actually do take the titles off of them? You have 30 seconds, and your time starts now.
I do think the club's going to beat the New Day. If not at SummerSlam, certainly the next pay-per-view, so still going to be the club at the end of the day.
Night of Champions.
Yeah. And after the New Day's obligatory rematch, I could definitely see the realest guys, Enzo and Cass, being the first challengers. In fact, I already think it's going to go that direction. They're going to beat Jericho to bulk up their credibility. Then they're going to gun for the club. So there you go.
That was only about 23 seconds. Good job.
All right. So do you have any concluding remarks about this Raw?
No, sir. You know, the more we talked about it, other than the Roman stuff and some of the weird random roll-ups that probably could have killed credibility for some teams, but if you can ignore that, weren't horrible. This was a good show.
I agree. So again, like I said,
this show, and it's funny because we initially gave the show the 7.5 out of 10. That fits because I feel like this show was about 75% good and 25% bad. So yeah, that's actually really good.
I mean, on the whole, again, I'd say for the second straight week, Raw was good tonight. And, not as good as last week, but nothing was going to be as good as last week, like I said. I didn't even go with that expectation. Oh, man, it's going to be, so amazing. I even said, whether on Twitter, and I know I even said this on Facebook to some friends, I just wanted them to capitalize on the momentum of last week. And I think where it really mattered, like with Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, announcing Brock Lesnar and how that turned out, Raw capitalized on a lot of momentum, and I commend them for that. So, and hell, even having Sasha open the show, I thought was so smart. So, yeah, great stuff here. With that said, guys, this has been Raw. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary action. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Remember, for the comments down below, it is always the 30-second hot seat. So the question being, is the club going to beat the New Day for the tag team titles? If they are, who are going to be their first challengers? If not, who is ultimately going to take the titles off the New Day? So get that conversation started down below. You guys already know the social media and the sites. Check us out on in the background. But what I will personally advertise, the last Friday of every month is Q&A. I'm advertising this because apparently the first Q&A we did, which, by the way, thank to everybody that submitted questions and the turnout just overall, I thought it was fantastic. But there were some people that said, man, I'm bummed. I wish I knew about this. I would have submitted questions. You guys can. You can submit them, DM me on Twitter, comment on YouTube.
Tweet us. It doesn't have to be private. If you want to just tweet us, we can answer. I'll copy the question and paste it in a notepad document, and we'll have it for then. Leave a comment on videos. As long as you specify that you're not just asking us a question that you want answered as soon as we can answer it, and you actually say, for the Q&A or whatever, we'll save it and we'll answer it for the Q&A.
Absolutely. This guy right here, one of the most organized people I know. He will have all your questions put together for us to answer.
That's hilarious. I was infamously unorganized in high school, so it's hilarious to me that you say that.
So was I, but it's funny how when things matter, you bring out talents in yourself that you never knew you had. Like, I told you about, my whole email folders and how organized I am on my one email, and I feel like you're really organized when it comes to TWitWoW stuff, so take the compliment and run. But, yeah.
Okay, thank you!
But just, guys, submit questions. You know the mediums that you can submit questions. I would love a higher turnout for our second Q&A. Again, last Friday of every month is Q&A. We love interacting with you guys. I love the questions we got for the first one. So, and I know you can up your game. Why? Because you listen to us, which means that you have standards. Exceed your own standards, damn it. And until then, we will see you again for our SmackDown Live review, where finally the talent is in the house, because it's going to be the debut of American Alpha. And all I can say about that is I am ready, willing, and Gable. Until then, tune in and peace out.